telephonically connected members. Ms. Davis.
I'm here.
Ms. Carpenek.
Present.
Mr. Newton.
Present.
Mr. Pepper.
Here.
Mr. Lawless.
Hear as best you can. It's hard hearing.
Okay, all members of the board are here. We can hear you all pretty well. Can you hear me now?
Better now.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I think we're good. Good to start.
Okay.
And do I need to are you going to read and then we'll make the motion for the, okay.
Good afternoon. The Metropolitan Board of Zoning Appeals is now in session for the regularly scheduled meeting of July 16, 2020. My name is Lisa Minton, and I will be presenting the cases to the board for the review in today's public hearing. We are convened electronically pursuant to Governor Lee's executive orders number 16, 34, and 51 in order to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak and still conduct essential business of the metropolitan government. Before we move on with the meeting, the governor's executive order requires a motion to proceed electronically. Staff would solicit a motion to proceed electronically.
All right, there's a motion for us to proceed electronically. Is there a second?
Second. Mr. Lawless.
Mr. Lawless?
Yes, it was.
All right, then we will, if there's no discussion, a show of hands, which I don't see, we will vote. Ms. Davis?
In favor.
Ms. Carpenek?
In favor.
Mr. Newton?
In favor.
Mr. Pepper?
In favor.
Mr. Lawless?
In favor.
I'm not sure what would happen. I'll vote in favor too. I'm not sure what would happen if everybody decided to vote no. I guess we could just go home and enjoy the afternoon. But that motion passes and we will have a telephonic meeting.
In order to convene this meeting pursuant to that executive order, board members are participating remotely, and we encourage members of the public to submit comments in support or opposition to the board electronically at bza@nashville.gov. We extended this deadline to submit comments, and any comments received by 12 o'clock noon yesterday, Wednesday, July 15th, were provided to the board for consideration prior to the hearing. Any comments received after 12 o'clock noon yesterday will be read into the record. Additionally, we set up a voice mailbox for members to leave a message for the board on any case called on today's docket. Any messages that were received will be played for the board today. I'm here at the Development Services Center conference room located at 800 2nd Avenue South at a station that has been set up for anyone who wishes to address the board. Additionally, Board Chairman David Taylor is here. Social distancing measures have been implemented. For these public hearings, the board reviews the correspondence submitted in support of and opposition to these cases. The board also reviews correspondence and recommendations from other government agencies in preparation for the hearings. In today's hearing, staff will present the site plans, maps, photographs, and other documents that comprise the case record. At the conclusion of the staff presentation, the appellant will present his or her case to the board. After the appellant's presentation, if anyone is here wishing to speak in support of the appeal, they may do so. If any opposition is present, the board will then hear from those parties. After the opposition presents its testimony, the appellant will have a period of rebuttal. According to the BZA rules, the appellant has 5 minutes for presentation if no opposition is present. In contested cases, the BZA rules allow 10 minutes for each side to present testimony. Should the appellant wish to provide rebuttal testimony, the appellant should reserve some portion of the allotted 10 minutes. At the conclusion of each hearing, the board will deliberate telephonically and then vote on the case. The board is vested with the power to act on these cases under the provisions of Metro Zoning Code Section 1740-180. All section numbers that we refer to come from the Metro Zoning Code, which applies to the entire jurisdiction of the metropolitan government. The zoning code was adopted by the Metro Council and became effective on January 1st, 1998. I will introduce the entire zoning code and make it part of today's record. The Metro Code requires a record of these proceedings. Because BZA meetings are recorded for Metro National Network, because the board is hearing cases telephonically, it is imperative that anyone addressing the board come forward to the podium here at our meeting today and address the board, and speak into the microphone. All speakers should identify themselves by name and address and then make their desired presentation. The Metro Code requires 4 members of our 7-member board to establish a quorum. The code also requires at least 4 affirmative votes to grant an appeal. In the event that 5 or more members are present, but the appeal fails to receive 4 affirmative votes, the case will remain on the board's agenda for the next 30 days. Applications that fail to receive 4 affirmative votes within 30 days of the public hearing shall be deemed denied by operational law. Pursuant to board rules, an aggrieved party may appeal board decisions to Chancery or Circuit Court within 60 days of the entry of the BZA order. Additionally, as per the BZA rules, an aggrieved party may file a motion for rehearing by the BZA within 60 days of the original hearing date. After that time elapses, the board's decision becomes final and no further action can be taken. If your appeal is granted, you are required to obtain the permit for which you applied. A permit must be obtained within 2 years for the board approval to remain valid. It should also be noted that if false or misleading testimony is presented to the board, any board approval could be revoked at a later date by means of a show of cause hearing before the BZA. Mr. Chairman, I submit that all cases have been filed in proper order, all appellants have been notified by certified mail, and all legal notice requirements have been fulfilled.
Great.
There are some preliminary announcements regarding deferrals and withdrawals. Case 2020-073 has been deferred to a later date. Case 2020-123 has been deferred indefinitely. And case 2020-152 has been withdrawn. The consent agenda was published on July 10th and July 15th so that anyone wishing to pull an item from consent could do so electronically. We did not receive any requests for anything from the published consent agenda. However, as previously stated, we are here at a station set up for anyone wishing to appear in person to pull an item from the consent agenda. We'll enter into the record those cases that have been so recommended, and if anyone's here in opposition to any of these cases identified in the consent agenda, they will be removed and heard in its regular order. Case 2020-143, located at 4144 Partner Way, has been removed from the consent agenda and will be heard in its regular order. Case 2020-147 at 1226 B. McGavitt Pike has also been removed from the consent agenda and will be heard in its regular order. Case 2020-151, located at 2600 Children's Way and 1525 Nexus Trace, is a special exception request in the ORI district to allow for the use of lights on intramural fields until 12 o'clock midnight for a maximum of 10 days a year. Also recommended with an added condition that Vanderbilt University notify the district council member as well as the Hillsborough West End Neighborhood Association of any planned use of this special exception light usage outside of football games. Is there anyone here in opposition to case 2020-151?
There's rustling of paper near a microphone somewhere. I'm not sure where, but it's making a little, thank you.
The other case on the consent agenda is 2020-158, located at 1018 Stockel Street. It's a variance request to the front setback within the RS5 district. The required setback is 26 feet, and they're requesting an 18-foot street setback. Is there anyone here in opposition to case 2020-158? Seeing none, Mr. Chairman, staff would solicit a vote from the board at this time.
I have a motion for the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second. It's Lawless.
I believe that was Mr. Lawless. I have a motion, I have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we will take a vote. Start with Mr. Lawless.
Aye.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes, in favor.
Mr. Newton?
In favor.
Ms. Carpenter?
In favor.
Ms. Davis?
In favor.
I'll vote in favor also. That motion passes.
Members of the public, if your case was just approved on the consent agenda, please give our staff until Monday to process all the documentation associated with your appeal, at which point you may come in to pursue those permits which you have applied.
And just for our board members' information, we are in a new room. We're in the little small conference room in the codes building. And so because the room is so small, we've asked the members of the audience to wait outside. So between cases, we need to make sure that we go out and call the case, make sure that appellant and any opposition gets good notice and has time to come in. So it may be a little longer than it would normally be in the Sunny West conference room.
We have a previously heard case requiring board action at this point.
Mr. Chairman, as you'll recall, case number 109 involved the property at 218 Mockingbird Road. That case did not receive 4 affirmative votes for any motion in our last board hearing, and therefore, based on being within the 30-day window as prescribed by law, is still open on the case on the board's agenda. Although the public hearing is now closed, the board will have the opportunity to deliberate further if they wish, and then participate in their vote. Beforehand, I would ask our 2 members who were not present participating in the last meeting, if they've had a chance to review. Mr. Pepper, I'll ask you first. Have you had a chance to review both the case file and also the recording of the previous hearing on this case?
Yes, I have.
Then, Mr. Pepper, are you prepared to participate in the vote on the case today?
I am.
Mr. Newton, I'll ask you the same question. Have you had the opportunity to review both the case files and the recording of the hearing from the last case?
I have.
Mr. Newton, the tension was killing us.
Oh, do you hear me?
Mr. Newton, are you prepared to participate in the vote today?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Are you prepared to participate in the vote today?
Yes, I am.
Mr. Chairman, with that, all 6 participating members today will be participating in the deliberation and vote. We would obviously, it may be a matter of just making a new motion and proceeding, and now that everybody has deliberated already, but if the board wishes to deliberate, obviously they can before taking up a new motion and voting.
All right, thank you. I'm interested in hearing what Mr. Pepper and Mr. Newton have to say, kind of having seen this from afar. And Mr. Wallace, you had your hand.
I was just going to ask that the administrator remind everybody how they voted last time.
I believe that
the 3-0-1 vote reflected 3 affirmative votes and 1 abstention based upon what I understood to be an abstention based upon taking exception to whether or not the board had jurisdiction to hear the case. Mr. Lawless, you may phrase that more eloquently than I, given that it was your abstention, but 3-0-1, with the 3 being in favor of denying the item A appeal.
And, I mean, and to summarize, I think everybody that voted to uphold the zoning administrator's decision did so with an expression of disappointment in the project itself and how it evolved, and certainly felt like there was, there should be some recourse somewhere, but, we're not sure if this were the proper forum. And so that's one of the reasons I was curious. I know often, not to put you on the spot, Ross, but sometimes you have an interesting legal perspective on and a route for some of these things that, or a pathway for some of these things that maybe the board hadn't considered before, but the three of us couldn't find that the last meeting, and so I'm curious to know Mr. Newton and Mr. Pepper's perspective, as well as anything else any of the other board members might want to say.
Well, this is Mr. Pepper, and I'll be glad to give my interesting legal perspective. I think that was probably said euphemistically.
No, it wasn't at all. I respectfully, I was hoping you'd come with something that I hadn't thought of.
Well, I'm thoroughly familiar with the arguments, and what I believe is that the zoning that we do have jurisdiction. I do believe the zoning administrator's function was basically purely ministerial, but for the same reasons, if the Historic Commission had approved this And even though the zoning administrator's function, I think, is purely ministerial, just to approve it once the historic commission approves it, hypothetically, if the zoning administrator, for whatever reason, had not approved it, I think clearly we would have jurisdiction to decide whether the zoning administrator had erred in not carrying out his ministerial function. So I think we have jurisdiction, but I don't believe the zoning administrator erred, and therefore I would vote in favor of the motion that was was voted on but did not receive 4 affirmative votes, and that motion was to uphold the granting of the permit by the zoning administrator.
Okay. Was that a motion, or did someone else have something else that they'd like to say?
This is Mr. Newton. I would agree. You know, I tend not to have interesting legal opinions because that's not my area of expertise. But after watching 68 riveting minutes of that, I think I agree with the 3 of you that voted in favor of the motion, and that, you know, it's kind of regrettable that we, you know, that we're in this position, that the project is in this position. But I think that based on the zoning administrator is not the one who erred in issuing this permit. So that was my thought after everything.
Okay. Does somebody have a motion? Ms. Carpenter.
I think I was the one last time to make the motion probably to uphold the zoning administrator's decision.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
This is Ms. Davis. I second the motion.
All right, motion. There's a motion on the table. There's a second. Is there any other discussion on the motion? All right, we'll take a vote. Start with Ms. Carpenter.
In favor.
Ms. Davis?
In favor?
Mr. Newton?
In favor.
Mr. Pepper?
In favor?
Mr. Lawless?
I will abstain again, same conditions that I stated in the previous hearing.
And I will also vote in favor, so that motion passes 5-0 to 1. All right, next case.
Next case to be considered is case 2020-141, located at 5611 Franklin Pike, requesting variances to the front setback, rear setback, and a special exception from the commercial retail use requirements in relation to the ground floor parking to construct 6 residential units in the CL zoning district. Planning has recommended approval for the special exception portion of this case. Is anyone here in opposition to case 2020-141?
Yeah, we'll need to make sure we go outside. And Lisa, just to make sure, the special exception is for height, and the variance request is for setback, is that correct?
Correct. For the special exception, there is a ground floor parking retail element requirement. If you have parking on the ground floor for the special exception, it's 1716-030F6.
Okay.
And that's what's.
And so the special exception is recommended for approval by the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission doesn't make any recommendations one way or the other on variances. So
I believe that's telling you come up to the podium.
All right, Mr. Murphy.
Can I take off my mask? Thank you. I'm not sure anybody can hear me if I'm wearing my mask. I'm Jim Murphy. I represent the owner of the property, PMT Properties. With me today is John Pegram, the owner of PMT. As staff has indicated, this is a case that's seeking both variances and a special exception. Variances for the front and rear setbacks. The special exception is to be allowed not to provide the commercial along the frontage of the property because the property is very narrow. The requirement actually is that you have 75% of the frontage with commercial and retail. We couldn't meet 75% because this property is only 50 feet in width. But we also we're proposing not providing any commercial frontage, any commercial use on the property at all, and make it a six-unit attached residential structure. As we showed on the site plan, which is we filed, this property is unusual in that the right-of-way of this property is 15 feet back from the right-of-way of the adjoining property, where the Shell station is. This property is immediately to the south of the Shell station at the corner of Franklin and O'Haver Boulevard. This property sets back 15 feet.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
This is Tom Lawless. Because of my position, I'm going to abstain and sort of drop off of this one. If someone can shoot a text for the purposes of the commission, I'm the city judge for the city of Oak Hill. It may or may not come before me. I really don't want to get into this portion of it where there may be a conflict.
Okay. So, Tom, Mr. Lawless has recused himself from this case. Mr. Murphy, continue.
Thank you, Mr. Lawless. So this property, we're proposing a zero setback. When the prior owner of this property acquired the property, he met with the former zoning administrator, Sunny West, who recommended a zero setback for the property. We've attached the letters.
That was a long time ago.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah, all right.
But I still, again, it's one of the facts here.
Right.
Then the property is very narrow and shallow. It's like 50 by 128 when compared to other CL zone properties. If you use a zero setback, it will basically match the setback on the Shell property to the north, because the Shell property will have a 15-foot setback from the right-of-way, and because the right-of-ways are staggered, the 0-foot setback would match. A couple of things real quickly, because I'm going to run out of time. We had a community meeting. Everybody from Oak Hill was there. The city of Oak Hill is in opposition to this. All the neighbors that were there were from Oak Hill. None of them were immediately adjacent neighbors. None of the adjacent neighbors have an objection. After that meeting, we submitted the landscape plan and elevations at the request of Council Member Henderson, and we're willing to condition our application on having to comply with those elevations with one minor correction. The garage that's shown on the elevations, Public Works has asked that we recess the garage so that the garage is not right at the sidewalk line. And we tried to submit a plan to show those recessed garage, but we didn't get it in on time. And so we would recommend that if the board is going to approve it with the condition of the elevations, that it include requiring us to recess the garage, which we are willing to do. So,
and did Council Lady Henderson, she's in support of the project?
She would not take a position in support or opposition. Okay. What happened was,
but worked with you to improve it in case it were approved.
The other part of that, Mr. Taylor, is she asked us, and we responded by proposing a landscape plan that causes this developer to put more landscaping along Franklin Road, including getting an agreement from an adjoining property owner to put landscaping in front of their property, because right now there's nothing along this strip of Franklin Road as far as street trees. And so the proposed landscape plan shows street trees along Franklin Road as an attempt to mitigate the concern that this area is pretty barren. And unfortunately, this site, from a landscaping standpoint, is pretty narrow. It's just 50 feet wide. Right. And so we worked with the adjoining, one of the adjoining owners to get an agreement to put street trees in front of their property as well.
And then what is the requested rear setback?
5 feet.
Okay, and then it's a 20.
0 on the front and 5 in the rear.
And then what, in 20s required or 10s required?
20.
20 is required in the rear, yes.
And then what's the justification for the rear setback?
Basically, just, it's a very shallow site, so there's not a lot of room to get anything in there. And there's also significant screening to the rear. There's a sewer line that runs to the rear of this property, and there's an existing screening strip that screens the Shell station from the.
So is that property directly behind your property? Is it in an easement, or is there a sewer line easement, or you said a sewer?
There is a sewer line easement that runs across, immediately to the.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, immediately to the rear of our property, there's a sewer easement. So there's development on that portion of the property is not going to occur because there's an existing sewer easement there.
Okay.
And then there is a screening strip that was put in as part of the Shell development to screen it from the residential properties in Oak Hill. So that's an existing screening strip.
Okay. And so this property's, I mean, it's not in Oak Hill, or we wouldn't be before
No,
us.
it's right on the boundary.
Okay.
The property to the north and to the west are Oak Hill. So the Oak Hill boundary is along this property line. So this is Oak Hill property except for this tract. This tract is not Oak Hill property. There's also.
So this will be the closest multifamily you'll ever get to Oak Hill, and it was right on the line.
Well,
it's not. I'm a proponent of density, but anyway, that's a comment I probably shouldn't make.
Just a couple of other comments, because in the community meeting, a couple of the concerns were traffic, but this property is zoned CL. So putting a residential use here will generate much less traffic than what a permitted use would generate. There were some concerns that Councilmember Henderson had about the appearance, and that's why we submitted the elevations, so that we would have the elevations that would provide a product that's comparable to what's being developed in Brentwood. And I submitted some pictures of a comparable project in Brentwood with same type of setback. That property, though, had commercial on the first floor. This one is all residential.
Okay.
So I have nothing.
Are there questions from the board? Mr. Pepper.
I don't have a question, but I wanted to thank Mr. Murphy, because so many times we have these issues come up and people give us inadequate visual things to work with, like site plans and pictures. And I thought that what he included in the package was very, very helpful. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Pepper.
Any other questions or comments or thoughts? Mr. Newton.
My main question is, I know that you could see that the sign for the Shell station is just adjacent to this property. You know, I guess, do you know if this would, the building would sit back beyond that existing sign there with your proposed setback?
Yes, because of the 15 foot difference in the right of way. So the right of way sets back 15 feet from the right of way along Shell. And so this building will actually be about 25 feet from the edge of the pavement.
Okay.
So yeah, okay. It sets back behind the sign.
Okay. Thank you.
And I've attached a picture that shows that 25-foot distance from the property line to the edge of the pavement as one of the exhibits we submitted.
Any other questions at this point? Mr. Logan, Mr. Newton, gosh, I've done that twice now. Sorry, Logan.
That's all right. That's all right. I guess my only other question is, I don't see anything really for topography here, but just I drive past this every day going to work. So about once a month, I see a truck that's bottomed out, or because it's kind of a steep deal here, and cars kind of come off here and they have real issues. Are you planning to kind of make it at grade of the street, or keep it at that higher grade for this new building?
the garage entrance will be right at the same, basically at the grade of the street.
Okay, gotcha, thank
And
you.
then they'll excavate the rear, to the rear, so that the elevation will be more at street level and not at the level as it goes back up the hill.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? All right, did you have anything else to add?
I'm good.
All right, everybody's good with their questions? All right, we'll close public hearing. Thoughts from the board? I agree with Mr. Pepper. It's a very thorough presentation, and it definitely gives us I think, a pretty clear picture. And, you know, my initial worry on, or thought on it was, you know, I understood the front setback because of the 25 feet from the road. I wanted to understand the rear, which, you know, I think the 5, you know, to make sure, I didn't know if the rear was 0 or 5, but it is proposed to be 5. And with the sewer line easement behind it, I think there's one, where there's one graphic in our packet that shows, you know, that sewer easement and then the woods behind the sewer, on the other side of the sewer easement, gives me comfort that this isn't going to be, and the fact that it's frankly residential doesn't, you know, gives me comfort that it's not going to be something that is detrimental to the neighbors, and the neighbors in the rear. So I don't see an issue with the project as proposed. What are your thoughts, board? Ms. Carpenter?
I'll agree with you. I don't want to restate everything, but I agree with what you said.
All right, Mr. Pepper?
I'll say the same. I don't want to repeat everything, but I agree with what you said. And to me, it's very important that this is zone commercial, but will be a residential development. I also think it's really clear to me that this is a case with surplus right-of-way, which does support a 0 setback, and you have a very narrow site. So I would support a motion to approve it.
Okay. Anybody else? Mr. Newton?
I guess, I mean, I agree with what's been said. The only concern to me as someone who drives it every day is just there is a lot of backup traffic there, and cars are coming pretty fast there along Franklin Road. My only concern would be just safety, vehicular safety, and frankly pedestrian safety. There's not a lot of pedestrians along here. But I guess that would be my only concern. It looks like Public Works has reviewed that and said they're okay with it, but I still would have some concern. I noted some of the Oak Hill neighbors noted some of those concerns as well, just with the traffic. I don't think the volume of traffic is an issue, but I do have some concern over cars turning into and out of this lot. But I think that those would be present regardless of the development that was here. So I don't think that really applies to the variance, especially since it's about 20, it allows for the full car to be outside of the garage before turning, which was pretty important to me.
Okay. Mr. Pepper, did you have something else?
Would you like me to, are you suggesting a motion?
Sure, no, that's fine. You still had your little hand raised sign was still up. So
okay, no, I meant to take it down, so.
No, you're welcome to make a motion too.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion to approve the application.
Is that from the applicant's proposed condition of the modified landscape elevation?
Correct. Yes, thank you. Yes, correct.
Okay. And so I have a motion. Is there a second? Ms. Carbonet?
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion, have a second. Any other discussion? All right, I'll take a vote. Let's start with Mr. Pepper.
4.
Ms. Davis?
In favor?
Ms. Carpenter?
In favor?
Mr. Newton?
In favor.
And I'll vote in favor also. That motion passes. Good luck.
Thank you, Chair, members of the board. I really appreciated this very unusual experience.
It's a strange one. All right, next case.
So the next case for the board to consider is case 2020-143, located at 4144 Partner Way. We're going to pause for a moment while we get the applicant, and I believe there's opposition present also.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Just for the purposes of the record, if you will make sure that my total abstention was had in that particular matter, the one we just 141.
Yeah, it was noted, and it was noted that you recused yourself from that case. And you may have already left the call when that was noted, but we'll make sure that as the new case is coming in, then we will make just another notation and make sure that that's part of the voting record that Mr. Lawless had recused himself from case 141 and did not participate in that case at all.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
And since I hear your voice, I know you're back, and won't call roll again, but your presence is noted, and so we're ready for the next case with the full board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Case 2020-143, located at 4144 Partner Way, is a side setback variance for a carport addition which was constructed without a permit. The requested setback is 5 feet, and they are requesting a 0-foot side setback. The appellant is here, and there is opposition in the form of a petition, which was presented today, asking in opposition to removing the sidewalk access to a park located behind this parcel. The appellant wants to come up to the podium and speak.
Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, the board members being here. My name is Osman Baker. I am the representative for my parents, Mokhtar Osman and Lula Abdullahi. They're sitting here. And my address is 4144 Partner Way, Nashville, Tennessee 37211. Just a brief statement that I just wrote up.
Having a bit of a problem hearing, can you move a little bit closer to the microphone?
Sure. Would it help? Should I go ahead and take off? Yeah, I'll go ahead and take off my mask. Probably easier to hear me. Can you hear me well now?
I'll let you make a decision on your mask. I'm going to just say I can hear you better now. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. The carport was built in 2012 when the currently split up lot was all one lot together. At the time we built it to keep the rainwater from coming on the side of the basement. We do have a basement right now, and we didn't know at the time that we required a permit to go ahead and just add a carport. The one big lot, prior to splitting the lot now, was one big lot, and at the time we did not, we weren't encroaching on anyone's lot because it was one big lot. And it is now split into two separate lots in order to build on a newly split lot. I am the owner of the lot next to my parents, which is 4144 Partner Way, and we are humbly requesting a side setback variance. In regards to our opposition that is in the room, he is here on a completely unrelated matter to our current appeal. He's against us closing our personal private property sidewalk. The sidewalk on my lot is not the sidewalk on my lot is not public property. The sidewalk was initially built in error by Habitat for Humanity and should not have been built, as Metro Parks wasn't aware of it until just recently. I have email coordinations with Metro Parks, and they have no objection nor opposed to my project and or even fencing it off to the rear of my property line at 4148 Partner Way. I have forwarded email coordinations with Parks to Mr. John Michaels a few minutes ago. And last but not least, our councilwoman for District 26, Courtney Johnson, has been in the loop, and she has also provided a letter of support for our appeal. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Can I ask you, I don't see, we're looking at, and I think the board can see, but you can't, I'm sorry, normally we have screens so everybody can see. But we were looking at, I was looking at the one that you just had on the screen for the board. And it just shows, I think your parents, the carport, and there's no sidewalk between your parents' house and your house. Where's the sidewalk?
Sidewalk is it's on the, can you see my site plan right now?
Yeah, I can
So
see.
on the right side of the site plan. The new,
All right.
Yeah, that's the sidewalk. Yes, that was what was built incorrectly by Habitat for Humanity. And it's, Metro Parks and Habitat, they're aware of the project, that I go ahead, there is an easement that I can't touch, and I do have a permit for the new site plan. And, I do provide, there is, so with the easement, I am not encroaching on the easement. And that site plan has been approved, by Metro Code. And, we're gonna,
So is it possible for somebody would they replace the sidewalk and put it in the easement, or?
So when I did coordinate with Metro Park is saying the sidewalk, it is completely yours, and, because they do not maintain it. And they said, if, individuals that want to walk to the park or from the park, they can have other access. There's other ways to get to the park. And my plan is right now, which is to go ahead and close the rear of it, so avoid foot traffic, because this is not the safest neighborhood in Nashville, for the safety of my parents and myself and my family. I'm gonna go ahead and fence it up and, close it off, so that way, we don't have any issues, because we've had issues in the past, and I think closing it off would, be in the best interest of myself and my parents and my family.
And then how long has that sidewalk been there?
It's been there since 2004, since Habitat built it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been there for a while.
So less than the carport, but still, about 6 years.
It's been 2004. Yeah.
Oh, 16, all right.
16 years.
Okay.
So initially when Habitat built it, where I'm planning to build a house now, they never thought, anybody would build. So 15, 16 years later, here we are now trying to build. And Habitat as well as Metro Park, they're saying, okay, so we didn't even, Metro Park, first of all, they had no idea. I was coordinating with Tim, which is the planning director of Metro Park. He said this lot, the park itself was built by Habitat and donated to Metro Park.
Good, and I guess, and I just wanted to get an overview, because I know the opposition, that was the main reason the opposition is here is to talk about that sidewalk. And I just wanted to understand it, because it does seem to me that it's on the other side of your property, and it may be a separate issue. Now, they may have a case, they may not have a case, but in terms of whether or not we decide that your parents' carport can encroach on your property line, it seems like it may be different. If that sidewalk came right down between your parents' house and your proposed house, I could understand a little bit better the importance. But now I also don't want to imply that if we say this is okay, that we're also saying anything about the sidewalks. That's not on our agenda today.
Yeah, the sidewalk. Sorry. So for the sidewalk is completely unrelated to our appeal. Once we were required, we've been coordinating with Jessica. We were required to send the letters out. We sent the letters out, I believe, to there was a lot of people on the list. So our neighbors, they've all got it. So and the individual that's here in the room, he just needs a place to walk, and he probably has been walking there for a while, but now with the project coming in. And
right.
When I talked to the park, I told the park, hey, look, we're planning to build a house here. We have an approved site plan. We're going to get started on construction soon. They said, yeah, it's your private property. There's nothing that we can tell you not to do. They went ahead and approved, they looked at the site plan, and they said you can go ahead and close it off if you're in fear for your family's safety. And, so the individual
But you can understand why they're upset if they've been walking on the same path for 16 years and now they may not get to, then
Right.
you can understand why somebody might be upset about that.
And they can have, there's other ways to go to and from the park,
Okay,
just not on private property.
okay. Okay. Are there questions from the board?
Yeah, I just wanted to verify, when was the carport built? It's already built, and when was it built?
It's built, I have a permit here in 2012. So what we did is, we built it when we built the basement for a 414 floor.
Okay.
And, we just assumed, we didn't know that we would need a separate permit for the carport. So when we built the basement, we went ahead and just added, the carport to avoid water from coming in, into the basement, which helps right now. And, it helps keep the water away.
Okay, so it's been there for 8 years.
Yes, it's been there for 8 years, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, then we will hear from the opposition, and you'll have 7 minutes for rebuttal once the opposition has said what they'd like to say.
Okay.
This is my name, Osman. That is for living from the park lane for park lane. And it's the 15 years 2005. And it's a problem for all neighborhood, for the exit to park. All people, all kids stay, not construction, for the long side. And they have a land sold it, a land stay on the exit park for going people in the park. Yeah, all maybe 20 or more people side, no construction, stay outside in the park. And the no problem, only one park problem, the Jasmine Drive, same to park to have 2 neighborhoods, same 2 problem. And another side, home, 6 home problem, and the outside for park. All people noisy, not fair, close on the one exit, and second exit, and the third exit, only one ready for going in the park.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe today come up to a couple of people, I don't know, maybe to different over here and the others for more people for over here today for the court. Yeah, this only problem, this over here pictures for
yeah, and board, just in case you didn't hear some of that, the gentleman has a petition that's signed by approximately 30 neighbors that are in support of keeping this sidewalk, and he was talking about the way the access has been difficult, and it says, hello neighbors, please sign if you support or are against the construction that goes through the sidewalk that leads to the park. Please join me in signing below to keep the access to the park that runs through in between the 2 homes. The 2 homes that you can see on the screen now are not the, I'm going to call it the son and the parent's home. It's the son's proposed home and the one to the right of that. If you're unable to make the hearing, I'll be in attendance and will represent you. Thank you. And then it has a number of folks that have signed this petition. All right, and then he's also has a picture of the sidewalk, which I don't think, do we have a picture? We don't have a, yeah, and.
We have the side view, but this site plan on the screen now does show the location of it.
Right.
Through with his proposed footprint.
yeah, this is right now. works in construction.
And so we're talking about the carport that's on the other property, and then he wants to build on the property that, you're talking about, and they're really separate. I mean, all we're looking at is the carport, not the sidewalk. We're not giving him a building permit. We're not giving him permission. That's something that happens somewhere else. We're just talking about his parents' carport. And that's all we're talking about.
Okay, no problem with this. The problem is completed. The problem is completed. The people, not to, maybe to all people, stay exit.
Right.
Exit, 10 feet, whatever. Another has land for shoulder. Someone needed for the exit, for the park, not close.
Right.
It's not just in drive, same as the private property and the exit walk.
Okay.
On the other side, same to bring 6 home, maybe check on the map, 6 home, and the problem again on the wall side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Season for the thing.
All right. Did you have anything else to tell us or anything else to add? Did you, anything else to tell us?
Yeah. That's my question to fix.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
But any questions? All right, thank you. All right, and we'll hear back from the applicant, who has 7 minutes and some odd seconds.
Thank you, the board. I really appreciate it. What it comes down to is, at the end of the day, this is private property. I have the support of the Metro Park as well as, our councilwomen. I also have a permit. We're going to get started here in a few weeks. And, if had there been an issue with the sidewalk, codes wouldn't be able to provide a permit. That's my strongest statement. There's no issues. We did confirm, codes has coordinated with Metro Park. David is very familiar with this project, David Carrizia, and he knows all about this project. He has coordinated with Metro Park, talked to Tim. Tim said it's fine. I coordinated with my councilwoman, and
that was Ms. Johnson that they wrote a letter.
Yes.
That we have a letter for her asking for support. So. And
we're planning to get started here in a few weeks with the approved site plan. And what it comes down to is this is a private property, and Metro Parks has provided all of their full support to go ahead and get started. They have 0 objections. I did went ahead and forward my coordinations with Metro Parks to Mr. John Michael.
Okay.
And, should you have any questions, you can follow up with me or Metro Parks or, and we really appreciate, your opportunity to, listen to what we have to say and, and excuse our, our not knowing, that we, needed a permit in order to build the carport because we were building a basement at the time, and we just went ahead and added to it. And we appreciate your approval for the carport. And I'm aware that, the sidewalk, although it's completely unrelated to this, I do understand, what the opposition had to say, but this is a private property. Had this been, a sidewalk that was put out there by Metro Park saying this is ours, we would not be building on it. But, since this is a private property, and I was told you can do whatever you want with it. And that's where I stand. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Any questions from the board? Mr. Newton?
So when was this?
Hang on, sir. Sir, if you Mr. Newton, if you have a question, and then I think we have someone that's wanting to speak.
Yeah, no question.
Okay.
Mr. Newton.
Yes, I guess my only question is when was the parcel separated out? And I'm guessing that process went through the Metro Planning Commission
Yeah, absolutely did. Actually I started obtaining the permit process in February, and it is now July. The permit was issued on June 9th, just a little over a month ago. So it took me a little while to get the process started, get the land, the property split up. And, that took a little time, getting the site plan, prepared by a surveyor. It took me, I would say it took me 5 months. We started splitting it up in February, and then we are now in July, so we're hoping to go ahead and get started on the project.
Okay, so the property was split this year.
This year, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
And we're paying taxes on it as well, so.
Any other questions from the board? Did your dad have something to say? Please come up here and state your name and address and.
Okay, I appreciate it to allow me to talk to you. And my name is Mukhtar Baker Osman. And my address is 4144 Partner Way, Nashville, Tennessee, 37211. This lots used to be one, and we separated this year because of my son got married, and we wanted him to have his own house. So, and the Metro Park, they know that this easement doesn't belong to them. They know it. Nashville Habitat for Humanity, they didn't tell them that. They know that the land belongs to the habitats, but not to the Metro Park. But they have to tell them that this land doesn't belong to you. The easement doesn't belong to the Metro Park. By mistake, both the entities, they don't know each other. They just want to give the land to us, but not to the Metro Park. Even this, when we separated the lots, with the Metro Park, they came and they cut off their own sign, and they took it off. They know that it doesn't belong to them. And they don't have to, the Metro Park doesn't have to conflict us with the labor. They have to tell them that this land doesn't belong to us. The easement doesn't belong to us. It belongs to the owner of the land. And you get the other exits. There are 3 exits, including the one which is in our lots. Our property is the first one. So there is no problem, to go to the park and, let them play the kids on the path.
Okay. Well, and one,
that's what they want to do.
All right, thank you. And you didn't have anything else to add? You good?
No, I think that was it.
All right. So, is there any questions from the board? We'll close the public hearing, and I just want to make sure that the folks in the audience know that what is before us today is the carport only, and that any easement, if there is a legal easement for that sidewalk, if there is any other neighborhood issues about that sidewalk, that there are ways to take that up outside of this hearing today, but this hearing today is only about the carport. And us deciding on this carport And the setback issue with the carport has nothing to do with the easement, our opinion about the easement, our opinion about the sidewalk, our opinion about how, or whether or not you should build over that sidewalk. Not on the agenda today. So, so I just want to make sure everybody knows there are places that that can be discussed and reviewed and taking it to another place if it needs to. So board thoughts on this? This was originally on the consent agenda with the conditions that it not be enclosed, and that if it was determined that any of the carport, because both parcels were owned by family members, if any of the carport were over the property line, that a condition would be an easement for any portion that was over the property line. And that was because there was some confusion or not lack of clarity over whether or not it actually just touched the property line or was slightly over when this parcel got divided. And since it was the family that divided the property for the son to build a home, then that seemed to be a reasonable request and not out of line with what we've done before with carports that encroach the setback in terms of not allowing it to be enclosed for family use. And then the case got a little bit sidelined by the issue of the easement or let's say just say the issue of a physical sidewalk. And I don't know what actually, how the sidewalk, we heard a little bit about how the sidewalk got there and that type of thing, but that's a concern of some of the neighbors. Ms. Davis.
I was just going to say that I understand the neighbors' frustration, and I appreciate them sort of organizing and presenting their concerns, but as you mentioned, we're not really here to decide that. And just based on the issue that we're here to decide, I'm willing to make a motion, and I support the conditions that you mentioned earlier about that would lead to approval. So regarding not enclosing it and making sure that they work out some sort of easement between the two properties, I would be willing to support approval of the variance.
Okay, with those conditions. Any second or any discussion?
This is Mr. Pepper. I will second.
Mr. Lawless, you had your hand up?
Well, I'm just trying to make sure we have the carport that's may or may not be, because I can't really tell from the schematic I've got. It's not, I can't blow it up big enough, but it's on the line, right?
Yeah.
Or is it over the line? I'm having a hard time seeing that part.
We're not 100% sure if it's just on the line or if it's slightly over. That was something that was a little bit confusing to the examiners at codes, and that's why we put it. But since again, it's the parents own the house with the carport, the son owns the lot next to it, and that's why we said and it originally was all owned by the parents, and they split. As we just heard a few minutes ago, they split the lot into two, so the son could have.
His property, and they could have the other one. And the motion as it presently stands is that there will be some type of permanent easement allowing, if there's an encroachment, that is.
Yes, if there's encroachment, there's an easement for the parking, for the carport only, the carport, just the carport part that's over, and that carport not be enclosed.
Okay. As opposed to just moving the line over a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a much more complicated process.
Understood.
Any other thoughts or questions, or we have a motion?
Can I call the question, please?
You sure can. Question's been called, and we will vote. Ms. Davis.
In favor.
Ms. Karpenick.
In favor.
Mr. Newton.
In favor.
Mr. Pepper.
In favor.
Mr. Lawless.
In favor.
And I'll vote in favor also. That motion passes. And wish you all good luck.
Thank you so much.
Sure thing.
I'll call in the next 2 days.
Yeah. All right, we're going to bring in the next two cases just to speed it up a little bit, and
Christina?
What'd you say?
Christina, you're still have to check out when you check out, correct? That hasn't changed?
I can come back by 3:30 maybe if it's needed.
Thank you.
are you telling us to hurry up?
I would never do that, Mr. Chairman, at all.
No.
I was going to say something during our sidewalk discussion, but I kept my mouth shut this time, so.
All right.
Yeah,
Well, we
I
got
would
one
second
coming
that
up.
motion.
Sidewalk coming up, and then,
I'm going to go ahead and read the next case into the record because the appellant is not here and has sent an email in lieu of being present today.
okay, yeah, we're bringing in one case 150, but Lisa's going to read 147 because it will be a pure telephonic.
So case 2020-147 at 1226B McGavick Pike is a variance to the sidewalk requirements to construct a single-family residence.
Okay.
The applicant has submitted an email to be read into the record in lieu of being present today. He states, it's from Brandon McDonald, and he states that he will not be able to make the meeting in person and would like to submit through email. We are requesting to pay the in lieu of fee instead of removing the existing sidewalk. That's the end of his email. And also note that the council member, Emily Benedict, opposes this variance. And there is no one here in opposition to this case.
Yeah, and the zoning administrator is coming back in. It's my understanding that on this case, the applicant wants to pay the in lieu fee. The original waiver process denied that and said that they needed to construct the to the major street and collector plan. It went back to planning, I guess, when it was appealed to us. And planning had said that they recommended that the applicant pay the in lieu fee for the property frontage and maintain the sidewalks to, ADA standards. And in the meantime, we also heard from the council member of the district, Emily Benedict, who has noted that I guess there were a couple of other properties that are in that block face that are, being sold now. And it was her thought that because there is transition in this block face, that she preferred that this property actually build sidewalks up to the city's current standard, and that if there was a NES pole that was in the way, that they would develop an alternative plan around that pole with NES. And so, but absolutely wanted the new sidewalk built, and I think you can see the sidewalk on your screen. And I think it's from the zoning administrator had mentioned earlier today that this is I think an 8-foot grass strip and a 6-foot sidewalk is the standard for this street, and which is why the council lady was coming out in support of the person actually doing what the waiver process originally recommended, which was just build it up to the new code. And I think that that's what they're not eligible just to pay into the fund, right? Because of its, all right. So anyway, that may be more than you wanted to hear, but that's the case as we know it, and there's neither the applicant nor the opposition are actually present, which is allowed based on our telephonic rules, and they submitted their letter in recognition of that. So there's no public hearing, so the public hearing is closed because all the public hearing was in our packet. And so if there any other discussion, yeah, have at it, or if there are any questions for the zoning administrator or the code staff in terms of what's been going on and communicated between the different parties. Ms. Carpenter.
Well, I think it's open for discussion now, so I'll say I think it's reasonable to build the sidewalk to the MCSP standards and to consider the alternative design around the NES pole. I think that's reasonable. Want to hear what everyone else has to say.
Ms. Davis?
I agree with Ms. Carpenet, and I'm inclined to also agree with the council member's proposal. So if Ms. Carpenet made that into a motion, I would be willing to second it.
I will, thank you.
All right, so there's a motion to deny the variance and require the homeowner to build a sidewalk up to the current standards using an alternative plan as needed and approved by Public Works in regard to the NES pole. Is there a second? Or is that Ms. Davis? Did you second that?
Yes, Ms. Davis seconds it.
All right. So I have a motion, I have a second. Mr. Wallace, you had a comment.
Only comment was I'm going to call the question, please.
Question's been called. And to speed this along, we're going to start with Mr. Wallace.
I agree.
All right, Mr. Pepper.
In favor.
Mr. Newton.
In favor.
Ms. Parpenick.
In favor.
Ms. Davis.
In favor.
I'll vote in favor also. That's unanimous. That motion passes. Next case.
Next case is case 2020-150, located at 140 McGavick Pike, requesting a special exception in the RS10 district to permit the use of a daycare for 50 children in this location. There is no opposition present. The appellant, please come to the podium, state your name and address. Nikki Hatcher. Nikki Hatcher. My address is 336 Pineway Drive, Nashville, Tennessee, 37217.
And you want to build a daycare center, and tell us a little bit about your daycare center, but I know we have a recommendation from, I guess planning, doesn't planning make a recommendation on these? I don't see it right now, but I know planning had recommended approval, and you also have a letter from your city council member, Jeff Syracuse, who says this move to McGavick Pike is a great opportunity for more space. It's a perfect location, and asks that we approve your request for a special exception. So tell us a little bit about what you're wanting to do.
Well, the building had previously been used as a daycare for two separate businesses, so it has been an approved facility before, and so we just want to reopen that location in the way that it is. It's already been approved by other regulatory offices prior to our inquiry to reopen it, so we don't foresee any challenges in that area. But we just want to, it's like it said, daycare for 50 kids, it'll be little. So we just wanted the outdoor space, particularly now with the pandemic and the suggestion to keep children outside learning as much as possible. That would give us the opportunity to do that for our families.
Okay.
But we won't be renovating it or anything. It's the way that it is the way that it will be.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Ms. Davis.
I know that for this type of building, typically there has to be a community meeting, and I'm just wondering if the applicant can talk about the community feedback they've received on the project.
Yes, ma'am. We actually did have the community meeting, and Councilman Syracuse was there for the neighborhood meeting. there was only one lady that just had a question about how many children would be there, and we had a neighbor that we met today. We had tried to contact crews that are immediately next door to the property. We spoke to both families that are there, and they are in support. One of them just asked that we fix the fence that on the property, which we plan to do anyway. We're going to improve the outside landscape and those types of things to make sure that it is a gym in the neighborhood, because we live in the area also, and we love it just as much as they do, and we want to improve it, of course.
Okay. Ms. Davis?
I make a motion that we approve the special exception as presented.
Okay, wait on one second, did you have anything else to add?
I didn't, I'm sorry, you probably have to.
No, I'm sorry, I was going to ask the applicant real quick.
I don't think so.
No, all right, so nothing to add, no other questions for the applicant. We'll close the public hearing and have a motion from Ms. Davis to approve the special exception. And a lot of competition to second, I think. Ms. Carpenter.
Sure, I'll second.
Beat me.
All right. Mr. Newton, all right, so you didn't have a question, you were wanting a second. All right, so I have a motion, have a second. Is there any discussion? All right, we'll start with Ms. Davis.
I vote in favor.
Ms. Carpenter?
In favor.
Mr. Newton?
In favor. Favor.
Mr. Pepper?
In favor.
Mr. Lawless?
In favor.
I'll vote in favor also. That motion passes, and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much. The next case, 2020-153, located at 1808 Riverside Road, is a variance request from the 15,000 square foot minimum lot size requirement in order to construct 2 single-family residences on a parcel. The lot area as provided was 14,249, and the appellant is joining us. Is there anyone here in opposition to case 2020-153? None present. Appellant, if you'd like to step to the podium and state your name and address.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Joey Hargis with law firm Baker Dawson, here representing my client, Mr. Mike Peak, who is also present in the room. Mr. Peak will be addressing you guys shortly. I wanted to go a little bit into the case and talk with you. I submitted into the record a letter in support of our case. Sort of long story short, in this case, Mr. Peak bought a property that the Metropolitan government once owned and turned back over to residents after the construction of the elementary school there in Old Hickory, and deeded a tract of land that was 16,600 square feet to an owner, and Mr. Peak, and it was transferred to subsequent owners. Mr. Peak purchased this property at an auction with that acreage. Only after Mr. Peak bought the property, survey was determined that the property had 14,429, and the required for 2-family dwelling is 15,000. That's why we're before you today seeking a variance. It's approximately 5%, which is kind of the threshold it looks like that this board has entertained before. Obviously, this is no harm on Mr. Peak. Mr. Peak did meet with neighbors. I'm going to bring him forward now and let him address you guys over.
Yeah, Joe, can I ask you, I have a question the first. In one of the letters of opposition, I mean, I read in your information, it talked about the auction that it had advertised something about it being 16,600 square feet, more or less, and it ended up being a lot less. But one of the folks in opposition to this had said that if you just looked on, I guess, Nashville.gov, that it lists the lot at 0.32 acres or just under 14,000 square feet. So,
sure,
and I know you're saying a lot of the cases like, well, we were sold something that wasn't what we thought, but the opposition is saying, well, no, if you went to the Metro website, it would have been under 15,000 square feet.
So, and I'll let Mr. Baker address that too. From the standpoint, that acreage listed on the website is based upon GIS's depiction. That's Metro's property map. That is not a survey.
Right.
It clearly it's an estimation, to be honest, of best guess, if you will, how large that property is. Until survey occurs, there's no way of knowing. I did submit to you the plat from the prior iteration of this neighborhood, sort of pre-Davidson County government, Metro taking over the property, and he is portions of lot 32 and 33, which are on that plat. But I'll let Mr. Pete to the board kind of talk about that, as well as sort of address the issues raised by the neighbor. I'll certainly come back for any questions.
And then does the council member, I wrote in my notes that the council member was opposed to it, but I don't see that in the case file as of now.
No, certainly. I'll let Mr. Pete address that. He has talked to the council member.
Yeah, and to answer your question about the council.
Yeah, sorry, so state your name and address first for the record.
Mike Peak, 3117 Hunters Hill in Donaldson.
Okay.
And to address your issue about the councilman, we had a meeting back in, I think originally put that February, was into January. And we had to defer it one time, I should say not defer it, but I kind of jumped in and didn't know the process. So we started over, and Larry Hager says, you got to have a meeting. We had a meeting on, I think it was a Tuesday night. About 9 people showed up, 6 of which were 3 couples. So really you only had like 6 homes, okay? Nobody there was as outspoken about they didn't want it. And so Larry Hager heard that, and I didn't know he was either for or against it, but the point is I provided with him yesterday in an email that showed 7 yes and 3 no. I did knock on a few doors because we didn't have a big turnout, but I don't know what Mr. Hager's reason for not supporting, but the majority of the people that we've spoken to, and even the next door neighbors and all 4 doors up, are all for it, around the corner on Bob Durant. But to go back to your other letter that was sent in about the size of the property, we looked at the tax rate at 2.32, but we know that's not a legal document. I've done other real estate deals, and you can't go by the tax record as far as legal document is obviously for tax purposes. So we looked at the deed, and the deed showed 16,600. How could it be off not only 15%, but much less? Anyway, we were only 5% short, but obviously wouldn't have come this far if I didn't think it was, in my opinion, a hardship. So anyway, does that address your question, David, about the?
Yeah, no, I mean, but did he? I mean, again, I'm just trying to find where I saw that because let's see.
Well, yeah, just to let you know, I emailed Larry yesterday, didn't get a response back. He's normally really good about sending anything back. I texted him again today on his cell number, never got a response.
Well, and then the only thing I see is that there's a letter, well, in the information that I got to review the cases for consent, and I don't see it in the public packet, there's an email from Mr. Hager, and it may just missed it in the packet, but it says it's dated Monday, July 6th, and it says, I cannot support this BZA appeal. He tried to do this several months ago. Thanks, Larry Hager, and that's all the email says.
Okay. Well, and again, he's never come out and directly said, Mike, he just basically said, you got to get the neighbors to support you.
Right.
I felt like I have. I know he's a busy man, but I'm just saying that, and even after we had the meeting, by the way, and again, I took the implication, he didn't come out and say, okay, Mike, I'm going to support you, but he did come out and say, well, yeah, that's a great lot, you should do okay. So I figured it was done, but yes, we did exchange some emails, but he did say that and I even told him I was going to go knock on doors, which I did, even recently, and obviously because of the COVID, I didn't get very good response. I did make phone calls, I reached out to people, but again, I stressed the fact that the next door neighbor and all 4 doors up Riverside have all said yes. Around the corner on Bon Durant, I've got 2 yeses on Bon Durant. I've got another one up on 22nd Street. But again, David, I'm going to get ahead of you. Is that
No, that's fine. Do you know how many, of those neighbors, you know, the ones that are on Riverside that are adjacent to you, are they more than 15,000 feet? Are there any two-family?
If I remember correctly, I know, there's one that does exceed 15,000. I know they're at 1806. I believe it's B, where there's, I can't think of James's last name, but he's doing a remodel there, 2 doors up. So there is no, by the way, 1802.
Yeah.
That was torn down evidently, I heard years ago. So it goes 1808 on my lot, 1806A next door, then 1806B, and then Gene at 1804, and then Landy at 1800 on the corner.
Okay. Mr. Lawless, did you have a question?
I did. I'm just seeking clarification. This was purchased at an auction. Am I correct on that? Or did I thought that's what I heard. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
And again, we did the due diligence, we thought, by first reaching out to the deed, and of course, my experience, of course, the deed is much more accurate than supposed to be, than a tax record. And we did see the tax record at .32. But I think the individual, to repeat the letter, this individual sent in that really took up a lot of our meeting, by the way, back in January. He was bringing out everything you could possibly do that really didn't address you, and that is the hardship. And I understand people's concerns that they don't want 2 homes on 1 lot. But I'm doing everything I can to give you the courage, since we've got, in essence, really 3 roads, a 20th Street and Riverside. We're going to put the separation there to make it appear like 2 homes on 1 lot. I'm sorry, 2 separate homes on 2 separate lots. But our goal is to have 1 house facing Riverside, 1 to face 20th, separated as much as possible, about 30 feet. Again, when the setbacks are there, but we're going to keep the footprints relatively small. We're going to build nice homes that are similar to other houses. Again, there's no 2 homes on Riverside that are alike. The letter that this one gentleman sent in, he talked about keeping the character, and it was going to violate all the neighborhoods. There is literally, from sizes to character to architecture, there's no 2 homes on Riverside that I've seen that are alike. There's many different styles. So we're not there to disrupt the neighborhood and to build something that we don't think is going to be nice, and I think it's going to add value not only to the neighborhood, but also to Hickory. And if I can move on real quick, David, so the 3 nodes that we got, one of them is on Turner up behind, on the two doors up that they face. Their house sits so close to the road up there that they have a lot of space from there to where we want to put the second home in the back. And obviously we can build 1 home there facing, that's what we want to build in Riverside. The second one that's really in question is on the back part of the lot. And even that home there, the only, out of the 3 nodes, the 1 node back there that faces Turner, although their backyard comes down and reaches Disputes there, which is that it's really a private road in between, but his house faces Turner. Even building that house there, it's going to be 200 feet away, give or take, from one of the 3 nodes. The other nodes are not even in eyesight. One, in fact, is 4 streets over on Overton. So the people that are impacted the most, the next door neighbors in Upper Riverside, are all okay. The gentleman around the corner, Randy McClanahan, him and his wife are okay with it. Another gentleman up on Bondurant, okay with it, but again, I couldn't get everybody. So all I would say in closing is that I understand people's concerns, and I'm not going to build 2 skinnies next to each other. It's more power to people if they want to live in them, but I'm not doing that there. So that's not my objective, and I think it's going to be good for Old Hickory.
Any questions from the board? All right, did you have anything else to add?
No, I'd just like to say again, I would like to just say that I think anybody that would go to an auction and feel like you've done the due diligence and thought that you had plenty of square foot. I mean, the difference between 16.6 and 15,000 is a lot different. And for that mistake to be made on the deed, I've seen mistakes, but not that severe. So I think that, again, we're just 5% short, and I think that's significant. And of course, again, not picking on Metro, but they were involved in the transaction.
Okay, all right, thank you. We'll close the public hearing. Thoughts? Ms. Carpenter?
Well, I have a bunch of thoughts here. When we look at these lot size cases, we usually look at, as this property owner getting something that his neighbors are not getting. And in this case, I'm not entirely sure because it looks like there's a lot of neighboring properties that may have large garages, not necessarily two homes on one lot.
Right.
Yeah, and so the applicant says in the backup here that we have that the home size will be 1,400 square feet plus or minus 10%. That's not a large home, and that's close to the size of some garages, to be honest. We've seen some pretty big garages come here. And so I'm actually not opposed to it, being that I am seeing two buildings on neighboring properties. But I want to hear what everyone else is thinking.
Mr. Pepper?
So, I think my fellow board members know the position I've taken on these, which is if it's within a 5% deviation, unless there's really unusual circumstances, then I don't have a problem with this. And I think this is, that falls within, this is a 5% or a little bit less than a 5% deviation. So I think it should be approved. I don't have an issue with it.
Ms. Davis?
I was just going to say that I anticipated that was what Mr. Pepper was going to say. And while I understand his argument, the reason why I'm a little hesitant to support the variance is because the zoning is R15, which is a very low intensity for a neighborhood. So that means everybody in that neighborhood is sort of low density. And so while I know that they're very close, and I definitely understand Mr. Pepper's rationale, I always try to lean towards, like, what does the zoning allow and what does everyone else in the neighborhood have, and will this complement what's already there? And I do remember the argument that there is sort of a hodgepodge and diversity of housing in this area, but I think that's just sort of where I am. I'm sort of where Ms. Kaepernick is. I think I could be convinced the other way, but that's why I am a little hesitant.
Mr. Lawless?
Well, I'm looking at this a little bit differently. We've got an auction where it was acquired. So the buyer was technically, and Joey, I promise you, I'm not picking on your folks, although it does seem like I have been lately. But he knew what he was buying, or at least he was on notice of what he was buying. I also understand Mr. Pepper's 5% rule, and I like the 5% rule, to be honest with you. But in this instance, where you're cramming an awful lot in a little area, if he was going to purchase it at an auction, the appellant should have maybe done a little better diligence this particular time. He got a good price on it. Now we're dealing with, he'll make more money if he puts 3 units on there versus 2, which is what the zoning really limits him to. And he's asking us to, and I'm not against anybody making more money, but I'm having a hard time going over the other way. So I guess I'm telegraphing again.
Mr. Newton?
I think that, I mean, the fact that it has, I mean, this has street frontage on 3 sides, and the way that he described how he was going to build the units with them being 30 feet apart, frankly, that fits into the kind of consistent development pattern of the neighborhood. I mean, the houses on the street frontages around there are fairly close together, most of them. And I think if there's any lot that would be applicable to increased density to the two houses on this lot, it would be one that's walkable to the school, transit, a lake, and a park. So I would be in support of this variance, especially considering the hardship of buying it at with a deed showing a lot size larger than it was, and then it being so close to the required lot size.
Mr. Wallace?
Sorry, I didn't take my hand down. I apologize.
All right. Any other comments? Mr. Pepper?
I will make a motion to approve the application, the appeal, excuse me.
All right, I have a motion to approve the variance. Mr. Newton?
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion, I have a second. Any discussion? All right, we'll vote. I'm sorry?
I was calling the question. I was calling the question.
All right. Actually, he was jumping ahead of you. All right, so we'll take a vote. Start with Mr. Pepper.
In favor.
Mr. Newton.
In favor.
Ms. Carpenter.
In favor.
Ms. Davis.
Opposed.
Mr. Lawless.
Opposed.
And I will vote in favor. That motion passes 4-2. Next case.
Mr. Chairman, I am actually going to have to step out for a bit, but I can come back and join when I return. That helps.
Yeah, just check with us when you get back.
Okay, yeah.
And Mr. Chairman, can we have a 5-minute break? We've been going for almost 2 hours now.
Sure. That sounds good. 5 minutes and we'll get back together.
Everybody remember to mute your microphones while we're on the break.
Tom, Mr. Lawless, you there? I think we're missing Tom. If you're there, you're still on mute. We do have a quorum. We'll make sure, we'll give him another minute and then we'll get started. Mr. Wallace, are you there?
Am. You have me back.
Right.
Sorry.
All right. Starting to be like Tom Hanks in Apollo 13 or whatever, going through that little zone. We weren't sure you were going to make it. We're glad you did. All right, here we go.
The next case is case 2020-154, located at 234 Orlando Avenue. They're seeking a variance from the 20-foot front setback and requesting a 10-foot front setback within the R6 zoning district to construct a single-family residence. There is opposition, and there also are emails to be read into the record, but first we'll have the appellant come forward and state their name, address, in case, and then I'll read the documents into the record.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Joey Hargis again with law firm Metropolitan here representing my client, Sierra Property. I thought you were going to read.
If you want to, did you want to speak?
Oh, sure. I thought you were going to read some items.
I'll read this after you're done.
Sure. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for having me again. In these most unusual times that we find ourselves in. Ladies and gentlemen, we come before you today. This is a case that this board did hear this request previously. This request is different from our prior one in that Members, if you'll recall, much of the opposition and complaint to our prior request was regarding and revolving around a two-family dwelling on this lot. My clients went back and redid their plans and came up with just a single-family structure. They have reduced the size of the building here by 5 feet. We've actually amended our setback request now for a 10-foot setback rather than the 5-foot setback previous. Our hardships in this lot are textbook. If this is not a hardship, by definition of law, there are no hardships, so it's more to grant variance. There is only 192 square feet on this property that my client can build upon without variance of any sort. The lot itself, here, wait 1 second here. The total lot area of this lot is 37,026 square feet. So like my previous client, the previous case, we are 2/3 of an acre here. And out of that, only 195 square feet is actually buildable without any sort of variance. As I stated before, this is the classic hardship. None of these restrictions are placed on my client or anything that is doing. I'll have my client come up and talk about what's transpired since then and how he's met with neighbors. This particular round, the only opposition we received in this request was that Orlando is too narrow a street in which to construct. And members of the board, I suggest to you that argument honestly carries no weight, should carry no weight with you, in that my clients are proposing to dedicate 10 feet of right-of-way of his property. He's giving 10 feet of property back to Metro in which to widen this street. So that should alleviate concerns.
So Joey, how close will the house be to the road?
To the pavement itself?
Yeah. I mean, because am I looking at this right? I was thinking, I'm looking at this, there's a 10-foot dedicated right-of-way, which to me looks like it would be 10 feet from the road. And then are you all is the house basically?
Another 10 feet beyond that.
So your house would be 20 feet from the road?
Yes, and the pavement today, that road width out there is about 15 feet in width. So if you come from center 7.5, then another 10, then another 10.
So 20 feet from the road, and then I know that there was some questions last time about this patina circle and a house there. Do you know how close that house is to the road?
That particular, I don't have the exact measurement. I do believe it's more in keeping with what our clients are proposing.
It says Carrie Smith's property, I guess there. I was just curious. And then did you get, I know you all said you had to get another variance to build in that stream buffer, and has that already happened?
That, the process for this one, this board is first in the scheme of to do. In that.
Because I think that the board had left it with, and we only have one of our architects now instead of two, but the architects on the board had said they thought if you'd gotten that stream buffer that you'd have a buildable lot and that you might not need the setback variance. And so that was just raising that to see if you, but I remember last time, sounds like a little chicken and egg or cart and horse or?
It is, with this particular request, the stormwater folks are honestly not taking this appeal until the Board of Zoning Appeals has completed their work.
Okay.
One way or the other in that case. But I've submitted to you, ladies and gentlemen, the copy of the site plan. You see there's also a sewer line that intersects and bisects my client's property. He's encumbered by this property, as I talked about before. Without any variance, there's only 195 square feet in which to build. So without variances from this board or stormwater, Mr. David Murray, I think any lawyer could argue this is actually a taking by Metropolitan government by way of its ordinances and restrictions on the lot.
Would that be true if the entire lot were blue and in a stormwater variance?
I mean,
is the fact that a very small percentage of the lot that's not in it looks like it's not in it doesn't have some kind of blue or line or something going through it.
in our drawing, that's the only area you've got to work with, that green triangle, that's it.
Right, but I guess I'm saying is, if that lot had been entirely blue and there was no green triangle, would that represent a taking?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because the city had defined it as, so if it were all let's say every bit of that lot was in a 100-year floodplain, which is not allowed to be built upon, that would be considered a taking, and then would there be recourse, or?
If you'll recall, after the 2010 floods, Metro went out in this neighborhood and areas north of here and purchased property that were in the floodplain or in these floodway buffers. This particular lot is not in a floodway. It's the floodway buffers required post-2010 flood that are sort of creating that area that's worked in there. Remember, prior to the 2010 floods, we didn't have those buffers in our ordinance at all. It was just strictly floodplain and floodway. That's all you had to accomplish with it. So Metro, since 2010, has imposed more restrictions on the property.
Okay. And your argument is that because they didn't actually purchase the property from the property owners, that would be considered a buildable lot, or therefore they would have said out?
No, Mr. My argument to you is that by very definition under state law and your ordinance, there's a clear hardship on this property due to the exceptional characteristics of this property that are not imposed on any other.
Right.
In this area at all whatsoever. So that's the issues that we have before us here, and that's why we're back before you. And just to recall, it was much of the opposition at that time was about the two-family dwelling. Right. We were overbuilding the lot. You were just putting too much on this lot. And so my client has taken that to heart and reduced it to a single-family residence, reduced the parking by half, took 5 feet out of the building. But I'd like Mr. Magnus, if he wants to address any other issues, if he'll come forward now and talk about anything, if you like, if there's anything you want to cover.
And any questions from Mr. Hargis from the board? Mr. Newton.
My only question, is the footprint the same as what was proposed before? And I guess so the only change it went from 2-family to 1-family?
No, sir. The footprint itself did reduce by 5 feet.
Okay.
Out front, I'll let Mr. Magnus talk about the change that was made to the.
No, sir, you got to come up to the board won't hear you unless you're talking to that speaker at the podium.
My name is Clay Magnus, and the footprint was reduced from 1,290 square feet to 1,140 square feet. In addition to that, we also reduced the number of residences from one to two.
Mr. Chairman, having a little bit of a difficult time hearing it clear enough, if you wouldn't mind. Maybe you could move the phone or the speaker away from their mouth a little bit or something.
Yeah, we're working on it.
All right. Can you hear me better now?
Much better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We reduced the footprint from 1,290 square feet to 1,140 square feet. So it's a reduction of 150 square, a buildable or footprint of 150 square feet for the footprint. And we reduced the number of residences from 2, even though it's zoned for 2, we reduced it to 1. And basically that was to meet the objection that we heard when we came before this committee before. And I also met with the neighborhood association. They were kind enough to give me about 10 minutes in when they had their last meeting, and presented much of the same case that we are presenting today. And the email that I received in response to that was the only objection that they stated was that the street was too narrow.
Is that the White Bridge Neighborhood Association?
I believe it's Patina, the Patina Association.
Are there any questions from the board? I mean, we do have a letter from the White Bridge Neighborhood Association that said that they are still opposed to the 10-foot setback. So that's why I was wondering what neighborhood is. I mean, they may have met with you and been responsive and said this is whatever, but they're still, when they took a vote, are opposed to it. And
Yeah, Susan Crunch. Yes.
Mr. Lawless, did you have a question?
Do we have any street views in our, thank you.
Here we go.
That was enlightening.
So that blue house is Patina, the blue house in the upper left is Patina Circle. I think that's right.
I think so. Let me go back to the site. Joey. Just Patina Circle?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Those houses in the background left are the houses in Patina Circle. The white residence, which is on the right-hand side of the street, is the council member's name of the residence there. But yes, that's the Patina Circle. Mr. Taylor, you had asked about the setback out front. It's a little bit unfair to compare the setbacks. It is approximately about what our client, based on Metro's GIS maps, about 10 feet front. But I caution you, they were under a little bit different zoning code. That's a planned unit development, so the front setbacks were reduced as part of that PUD when it was constructed.
I just was curious to know how it related.
Yes, but they're in line with what our clients do.
Mr. Lawless, do you have a question?
No, sir. Let me get my hand off
All right.
again.
All right, we will hear from the opposition, and the applicant will have 5 minutes and 25 seconds for rebuttal.
First, I'll read.
Oh, I'm sorry, we need to, Lisa needs to read some letters.
2 letters to read into the record. First letter is from Councilmember Berkeley Allen. States, dear members of the Board of Zoning Appeals, in regards to case 2020-154, I'm writing in reference to the requested setback variance. I've been asked to serve as the sponsoring council member since the district council member lives in close proximity and felt like her participation was more appropriate in the role of a stakeholder. I've met with both the neighbors and the applicant, and while I appreciate the efforts of the applicant to modify his project to make it more appealing to the neighbors, I'm supporting the neighbors' request to deny the variance. Although the requested variance is now smaller than what was previously asked for, the buffer boundaries were known at the time of purchase and should have been taken into account at the time of purchase. Metro Water Services continues to buy houses out located too close to floodways, and variances should not be granted to encourage building in flood-prone areas. Thanks for careful consideration on this matter. Best regards, Berkeley Allen, Metro Council at Large. The other letter is from Monette Rebecca, who lives at 320 54th Avenue North. And it reads, dear BZA members, I write in opposition to appeal case 2020-154, request of a setback variance for a new development on the property located at 234 Orlando Avenue. The rear property boundary borders Richland Creek with a floodway designation and a floodway buffer requirement. There is also a tributary with a stream buffer that bisects the property south to northerly. I'm familiar with this area, tributary, and live just downstream within the 1,000-foot radius of the property. The applicant's hardship, the exceptional topography and floodplain issues which encumber this property are a basis for their hardship, is not a unique circumstance or hardship for this property or nearby areas. Properties next on the same block and up and downstream has similar flood zone issues. Nashville is well known for its rolling hills, bottomlands, and 2010 floodways. Floodplain are not unique or specific to 234 Orlando Avenue. Flooding is a natural occurrence by waterways with public information readily available, like the Metro GIS map indicating the area's flood designation. More development has occurred nearby and throughout the watershed since 2010. At some point, more development can put a strain on the system and flood risk and flood zones grow. Tributaries such as this one will eventually have floodway designations put on them also if we keep increasing risk. And if so, will require a larger buffer. New development on this property will also likely require a stormwater management committee application and meeting. This property has never been developed before, likely because people recognize the value of keeping it undeveloped and to mitigate flooding. Many old trees exist here, and new square footage of impervious surface will cause some to be lost and will generate more runoff, while it prevents groundwater recharge. New development on undeveloped land will displace floodwaters 2 to 6 times more than it would have when it was undeveloped. This is especially true for flood zones. Developing them eventually drainage creeping onto nearby properties or increased downstream flooding. We cannot expect flooding to improve when we build in flood zones. The exact opposite will occur. Climate change scientists tell us to expect more frequent and intense storms, so preserving these flood areas for mitigation is valuable. Bottomlands and river corridors are functional with purpose that is good for the community. We should preserve this type of land for the greater good. They are community assets, contributing positive impacts to public health and safety, clean water, and recreational use. It is good land for aquatic habitat and the wildlife we all enjoy daily too. Please deny this setback variance appeal. Respectfully, Monette Rebecca.
All right, we'll hear from the opposition.
Thank you. Before I begin, Mr. Wallace, can you hear me okay? Or everybody else?
Yeah, and then tell us who you are and your address.
Okay, Kathleen Murphy, 231 Orlando Avenue. I'm happy to take off my mask if I need to. So first I wanted to start with that I am an immediate neighbor, and that's why I recused myself as the council member for this case. And since the applicant here likes to use my house as an example, I will state that the creek does run directly behind my house, and I am very fortunate that when it floods and when it overflows, which is frequent, it goes to the north, and my house is to the south. And what they are proposing to build is to the north of the creek. And so I do not think that they are apples to apples comparison and should not be considered here. They spoke of outreach to neighbors. To my knowledge, there has been no new outreach since the last time they were here, and you denied their request for a variance. Nothing has changed in their site plan except for changing the front setback. That does not address the concerns of the neighborhood regarding the creek and the creek buffers. They mentioned that there were concerns about the street of Orlando needing to be widened. I've lived there for 13 years and feel very strongly it does not need to be widened. It actually was already widened with the Orlando Bridge over the creek, which happened about 6 years ago. Part of this situation is a self-imposed hardship. I guess time runs together on the first part of my term, but probably about 3 years ago, there was part of Lenox Avenue that would continue beside this parcel and between the parcels to the north of it and this parcel, and we abandoned that to the owners, and both properties were signed off on, and part of that agreement of the Metro abandoning it was that right-of-way never be used as residential. So part of the reason they could not shift their building footprint to the north is because they agreed to that. And that is a self-imposed hardship that denies any other part of this variance if you were to I guess, buy into their argument. Again, as Monique and others have stated in their emails, and I have gotten 2 emails in the last 24 hours that I don't think got forwarded into y'all about denying this, is that this is not unique. The sewer line or water line is also on the other side of Orlando on my lot and the lot next to me, and the 2 lots next to me, and we also are in the floodplain buffer, and currently the lots next to me are being developed without requesting this hardship. The hardship applies to Patina. Patina was developed under PUD, and these same hardships apply to the properties on the other side of Richland Creek. So nothing about this hardship is unique, and they did know of it when they first purchased the property. Now,
Mr. Pepper has his hand up. Did you have a question? Ross, did you have a question?
I do have one. If Ms. Murphy wants to finish, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure you knew I had a question.
Okay.
No, I think that basically, I mean, I stated the majority of the same talking points last time I was here. It's not a unique hardship. Part of the hardship is further self-imposed. And at the end of the day, I think you denied this before, even though it's just 5 feet in the front that's changing here. It's the exact same conditions that you did not accept as a hardship before, and it should not be considered or approved today. Quite frankly, I think this is a waste of the time that we're having to go back over this. And again, it hasn't, the implication that they have reached out to neighbors, again, I live immediately across the street. I'm an active member of my neighborhood association, and I am not aware of any further outreach. So happy to answer other questions.
Mr. Pepper?
Sure. Could we get the site plan that Mr. Hargis had up earlier, so I can have that? Not the, yes.
That
Okay.
one?
That's the one.
Sure. So Ms. Murphy, I want to try to understand. You're saying this is self-imposed because the current property owner owned property that adjoins this lot at one time. Is that correct?
No, so let me clarify. So the part of their hardship they're arguing is the floodway buffer that makes it unique, and it is not unique. Many of the properties surrounding it have that. The self-imposed hardship is, the easiest way for me to, I guess, talk you through this is hopefully you can see that kind of red line. That is where at the top of their parcel, if you can see what I'm talking about, that is where.
Yeah, I can see that, but can you start by this, is it the case that this current property owner who's applying for this variance owned adjoining property?
No, sir. What I'm saying is that right-of-way was abandoned, and so it was split between this property and the property to the north of it.
Okay, so who abandoned it? I'm sorry to interrupt, but I can't. Did the current property owner abandon that?
Metro abandoned it to the property owner.
To the current property owner?
I don't know if it switched hands, but I know at the time it was accepted by the property owner of this parcel. And one of the conditions of accepting that, and part of the legislation of abandoning it, said that it could never be used as residential. So had they not agreed to that, they could have shifted their site plan to the north 5 feet. And so they are restricted by self-imposed.
What if the current property owner didn't agree? I understand if the current property owner had said, I'm going to give up 5 feet, and that they could have used, but I mean, there's no evidence before us that the current property owner is the one that abandoned this or that it was abandoned to the current property owner.
I guess we can pull up through parcel viewer, or the applicant can respond to that, whether they own the property at the time or not. But
Ms. Murphy, can you move your just back maybe an inch or two? You're blurring out on some of it, and I'm missing a part of it. I'm sorry. It may be my computer, but whatever.
And so, Ms. Murphy, what I'm trying to drill down to here is, I mean, I don't think that the current property owner didn't self-impose these site conditions. So I'm trying to figure out what it is that you can show us that this current property owner did that, if he wouldn't have done, would have essentially eliminated, made these site conditions such that he didn't need to seek a variance. That's what I'm trying to drill down to.
Okay, I think I understand you. And I think what I have probably blurred these two and could have done a better job of separating them. One is that I'm arguing that the unique conditions of the property are not unique. That part of the hardship that they claim is not unique because of all the, there are many properties I can point to that have the same type of floodway and buffer and creek. And then separately.
So let me stop and ask you there. How many properties that are close by have this so little amount of buildable space? I understand that everything around Richland Creek is going to have some part of the lot in the floodplain or the buffer, but how many have? This is an incredibly small amount of buildable space on a lot. How many lots around this lot have that same low level of buildable square footage?
I cannot say for a fact for the other side of the creek because I haven't looked at the other side of Richland Creek, but on my side of Orlando, which is the other side of Orlando, it is probably somewhat bigger, but it is extremely reduced. And I know the lot immediately next to me that is not currently being built on, but the two lots next to it. But the immediate lot next to me has the same about buildable square footage, and then the two lots next to that, they are pushed back very far from the road because of the stream buffer and because of the sewer. I don't know if y'all have an overview on Parcel Viewer that I could better point to. So you see those three lots that, not the gray ones, but the three across the street.
Correct.
The two at the top are currently being built, and they're pushed back. They're pushed back to the 20-foot rear setback. So yes, they have a bigger buildable envelope on those two than this one, but they too have the stream buffers and have one of them has the sewer line running through them more so than on this lot in the middle of the building, original building envelope. And then the third down, that one has probably, I would eyeballing it, a similar building envelope to this one, and it's not currently being built on by the developer who bought them.
Okay, so on the self-imposed part, can you take me through that again? And I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time. I think you're explaining it. It's just, I'm being slow in catching it, I think, but it.
No, that's okay. So my argument is twofold. One is that the unique characteristics do not exist here. And then the second part is they could shift their site plan to the north, giving them more of a buildable lot, giving them a bigger envelope to build in. But when Metro abandons the right-of-way to the two property owners of those two parcels, half goes to this parcel that we're talking about, half goes to the parcel to the north. Part of the condition of abandoning that was that it could not be used for residential. So when they accepted the abandonment from Metro, they then gave up their ability to shift their building envelope onto that right-of-way, that old right-of-way.
Okay, but if they didn't accept it, they wouldn't be able to shift anyway, right? I mean, if they didn't accept it from Metro, they couldn't shift it anyway. I mean, it seems to me like Metro set the condition and said, we'll abandon this if you agree not to build on it. I don't. That to me is.
It was applied for to be abandoned by the property owners, and it was a condition that I amended to the legislation, and they chose to accept it. They did not ask me to take it off or anything at that time. There was no communication from them, and so in my opinion, they accepted the hardship at that time by accepting the amendment to the abandonment request.
Well, Metro might have said we're not going to abandon it unless you agree that you won't build on it. We don't know that, right?
I mean, I don't think that we could have gone, I mean, we could go back and speculate, but that was an acceptance of the property owner at the time that the legislation came up.
And that may or may not have been the current property owner.
I don't know if it has been sold. To my knowledge, it hasn't been sold, but that can be answered by the applicant. And again, they bought it knowing that that was a condition on this property.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Murphy. I appreciate that.
No, that's fine.
Mr. Newton, did you have a question?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, my only question would be for Ms. Murphy is, I mean, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. My only question would be for Ms. Murphy is what would you suggest that the property owner do in order to build on this lot? Like, I mean, how do they improve on what they have now in order to be able to build a house here?
I am not qualified probably to answer what could be built here or not built here, but because I'm not an architect and have no experience in that other than crayons. But I think that there is a building envelope here that does not need a variance from the BZA. They've stated themselves that they have not gone to stormwater. I can't speak to whether stormwater says it has to come here or not, but they have not gone before stormwater. And I think that the lot north of them did go before stormwater and seek a variance that was approved, and it was based upon kind of green building of permeable or of pavers that water can go through and things like that. And so, I mean, if I'm just spitballing and coming up from the seat of my pants here, you know, if they were to maybe have the drive on the other side or something that water can go through and doesn't affect the storm buffer. But again, I'm purely speculating and not qualified to speak for stormwater or that type of thing. But there's a sliver of buildable lot here, and they have other remedies, which is at the stormwater board and commission, as y'all acknowledged last time.
I guess my question would be is what would make the neighbors happy in this respect? Like what would remove that opposition? Just to make a buildable house that you could do there.
I think if they came back to the neighborhood association, we could have that conversation. But that has not happened, and so I don't again want to speculate to that, and I'm not sure that is truly relevant to the request that is before us today. If they want to come back and meet with the White Bridge Road Neighborhood Association, while waiting to have the case heard, I coordinated another developer to present to that, to present to our neighborhood association. So, I mean, they can come back and present other plans and other ideas, but at this time, until I see them, I can't, enter into that negotiation of what would be a better plan. I do know that this is a variance that we do not support. And quite frankly, they need to have conversations with stormwater of what could be built in that buffer or not in that buffer. But what is before you today is a variance for a setback that is not truly justified by any of the stated TCA reasons for a variance.
What would those be?
I don't have the list before me. There's about 6 of them. One of them is no financial gain for the variance. Joey's shaking his hand. I'm going off the top of my head. George, can you hear too?
Well, no, I mean, I guess.
Can I call an expert witness? One of them is.
Whoa. I didn't want to put you on the spot here, but I mean.
I'm having a hard time, Mr. Chairman. Y'all are talking over each other. It's kind of blurring out. You don't have good acoustics there like we do over at our normal home.
All right, well, we will do better. Let me just restate this. I tend to agree with the applicant's premise that this lot has a hardship as defined by our list. I mean, there's only a certain portion that they can build on. Now, I understand the opposition's argument that, well, it just may not be a buildable lot. I understand some of the others, but when, I took issue with the statement that it didn't meet some of the requirements because I don't see, I mean, almost like you said, if your envelope is that green area that's on the screen right now, then how would you define a hardship if that isn't? Now, whether or not it's buildable or not, or what, I mean, that's what we have to decide. Is there another alternative that would remedy this hardship? Is it severe enough to warrant a variance? And so, I guess, I still focus on, what is, to me, I see the hardship, and then I think, well, how do I balance that with any damage that it would do to the neighborhood, which I think is also one of the criteria that, and try, not that it doesn't do any, but that there's no adverse impact. And when I see other homes on the street that are within that 20-foot range, and, I hear them saying, well, we'll give a 10-foot easement in order, in case Orlando's ever gonna be widened, and you said, well, you don't want it widened, but to me, that's not here, that's really, I mean, it's nice of them to do that, and if that ever happens, that's great, that's a whole different thing, but it doesn't have anything, to me, that's irrelevant to the neighborhood impact aspect of this. And the neighborhood impact is where I'm really having a tough time, because I do see other places that are, again, they're not on the creek, but there are other homes that are close to as close to the road as this. And so that's what I'm trying to figure out is, where's the damage by having a house 20 foot from the road in that spot?
So I guess a few things. First, I will let the other experts list off all the variance requirements, right? But part of that is that you have to meet all of it. It's not like you can pick and choose parts of them. The other homes on the street, well, yes, some of them are closer and some of them are further away from the street. That I don't think is, again, it's an apple to orange comparison because of the way this creek, when it overflows, it does not overflow on both sides. It overflows to the north. And I know that because my home was not flooded in 2010, but the parcels north of me looked like the Mississippi River. It flows north when it overflows. When we have, I think I saw that there's storms coming through tonight. Typically, when it jumps out of my creek bank in my backyard, it will jump anywhere from 15 to 35 feet. And that's just a normal August storm coming through. And so what we're talking about here is the front setback. The street doesn't need to be widened. The justifications for it here are the creek, and the relief that they are seeking because of the creek does not correlate with the hardship they're saying. They're saying the hardship is that we have this creek on the south side of the parcel and on the back side of our parcel, so give us more on the front. So that's not relief directly related to the hardship. Typically, hardship has to be closer related.
I guess I see them as being, if we say you can't build in the front setback area in that 10 foot of area that they're asking for, then you go to the stormwater and you build more in the floodplain, which seems counter to what you're trying to accomplish. So I guess that's what I'm not following that. And so I'm just trying to figure this one out. And I understand your passion as a neighbor, and you've been here before and expressed it before, and we certainly have gotten the other input from other neighbors. And yet I also am asking, how could someone build on this lot if they don't have a variance of some sort? And if they're given a variance, and is this a reasonable request? And we all thought, or at least enough of the board thought last time that, I don't remember what they were asking for, 15, or, if they were asking for a 10-foot variance or 15, whatever it was, is less than, they're asking for less now. So anyway, that's just what I'm trying to figure out.
I think you just have to go back to what we discussed before and where y'all's decision was before. Without stormwater telling us being here or submitting information that I don't know if they did or not, but the fact that they haven't gone to stormwater to seek relief there, again, they have other relief mechanisms that they should go through first, because whether y'all allow a variance here or not, they're not going to be able to build or not unless they get the stormwater variance. So again, I argue this is the way to go.
Mr. Pepper, did you have a question?
Yeah, this is Mr. Pepper. So, I mean, you're right. They're not going to be able to build if stormwater doesn't approve. And I totally understand your and your neighbor's concern about, and it seems to me like y'all's biggest and only concern is the potential for it to create stormwater and flooding issues. And it doesn't just stop with us. All this for this applicant to be able to build, they have to go through, the whole stormwater process. Is there a reason to believe that process wouldn't protect the neighbors adequately?
I would hope that the stormwater process would protect neighbors adequately, and that's a discussion for stormwater. I can't speculate to how the applicant would apply to them or what variance they would apply for stormwater, because they have chosen not to do that yet.
But they have to do it. I mean, that's the point I guess I'm trying to make sure that I'm right about is it's not as if once we approve this, they get a pass from going through stormwater. So,
right. No, I agree. And then it's all the more reason why y'all should uphold or I guess reaffirm or restate the decision y'all came to with their last plan in front of you, which is you have other relief that you can seek and you should seek it. I mean, this is kind of like going to one parent to go to the other parent and say, well, mom said that I could have an extra dessert, so y'all should let me have a dessert. This needs to go through stormwater before even coming here. And I think that's what y'all found last time in denying the same or the extremely similar request.
Any other questions at this point? Anything to?
I think that covers it. I'm happy to answer any other questions that come up.
Any other questions? All right, we'll hear back from the applicant.
5 minutes. 5:25.
So, Mr. Hargis, this is Mr. Pepper. Why? So, before I forget the question, why is it that you didn't go through stormwater first? Because that's apparently an issue.
Okay, so it would stand to reason that we would need to delineate what the front setback of this structure is going to be and therefore set the location of the house before we go to stormwater. Stormwater is not going to hear an appeal on a floating footprint on this lot. So they want this board to act and therefore set the front setback so they know where the structure is going to sit on the lot. Therefore, they know how much of the zone 1 or zone 2 buffers are being penetrated. To come up here, and I respect Ms. Murphy. She is a friend of mine. I could not disagree with her nor with her argument. It makes no sense. One, whether or not the stormwater committee heard this is absolutely irrelevant to this board. It legally can play no bearing on this board, and it quite frankly doesn't matter. But it would stand to reason we have to come here first to set where this house is going to sit before we go talking to stormwater about whether or not we can penetrate these buffers. The council lady has no intentions of supporting our applicant at the stormwater board. I think it's evident. So to say we should have went there first or we should come talk to the neighborhood board is just a complete waste of time. This neighborhood, my client met with the neighbors on June 15th. He went back to them with this plan. And nowhere in the plan did they have an issue with the front setback. They said the street's not wide enough. So, and the council lady, I agree with her on this point, that street's plenty wide. But we're still, because Metro is requiring us to do so as part of the sidewalk recommendation requirements, to dedicate this right of way. Secondly, the question about the easement and the closure of the alley, again, not relevant to this board, but I will tell you this, and I have 19 years of experience working for this department in metropolitan government. If you do not agree to the conditions on the alley closure, that alley closure will not happen. So it's almost like a contract of adhesion. You don't have a yes or no, or you didn't negotiate it. If you don't agree to that, it's done. It doesn't occur, and the street remains open. So to even insinuate that we somehow negotiated with it, and for the record, Sierra Properties was a party to the closure. But it's not like it's a negotiation where you sit across the table and you talk about, give and take. It's one-sided. Metro says do it or we're not passing it, and that's the end of it. So any other suggestion otherwise is just fantasy. The standards for variance. Let me read from you. Tennessee Code annotated 13.7.2.
Joey, can I ask, Mr. Newton had a question. Can I let him ask a question? And Mr. Newton, did you have a question?
Well, more of a comment, just that, I can attest to the fact that, you do kind of have to have a set footprint to go before stormwater. That they're not gonna want you to just kind of have a still fluid situation there. So just wanted to attest to that fact.
Okay.
Thank you. Does the stormwater play a role? Is there a hardship? Yes. If the stormwater and the regulations imposed by this government on this property owner allowed him to move the building back, we wouldn't be here today. We'd be dealing with whatever regulations are for. It's Metro's very ordinances that are pushing him to the street. It's the stormwater buffers that are imposed after the 2010 flood. This hardship is clearly not self-imposed. Nowhere could anybody rightly argue that Sierra Properties imposed restrictions on this lot that would intentionally restrict its buildable area to 196 square feet. That makes no sense. Mr. Chairman, you asked what can I build on that? Not much. I have a tent in my garage that's bigger than 196 square feet. Okay? And I don't say that to be flippant. But to sit here and say that my client should go back to the neighbors and we can talk about what kind of house you build is absolute fantasy. You can't build on this lot. All that's left is that green triangle. That's it, to comply with the regulations without any sort of need for variance. But it's very important for the purposes of this record that I ask you to look at your powers granted to you and authorized to you under state law 13.7.207, Section 3, whereby reason of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape of the property or of the specific property at the time of the enactment of the zoning regulations, or by exceptional topographic conditions or other extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions of such piece of property, I'm going to pause there. If this is not an exceptional or extraordinary situation on this lot, ladies and gentlemen, this board, you shouldn't even meet as a board. There are no variances that this board should grant. This is George Dean sitting here. He would put this in his textbook for zoning and land use law. I'm going to continue. Would create practical difficulties or undue hardship upon the owner of such property, would authorize and upon the appeal relating to the property a variance from such strict application as to relieve such difficulties or hardship. I've talked about the strict application of the law leaves him a triangle with 196 square feet building. And it says, and Mr. Taylor, this will be to your point, I'll address this kind of to you, but to the board, as to relieve such difficulties or hardship provided that such relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good or without substantially impairing the intent and purpose of the zoning plan. The legislature put that in there important because it's not, do every variance have some impact on neighbors? Of course, but the standard is substantial. And I'm submitting to you that the substantial hardship is on the applicant, not on the neighbors. This is exactly what this board's for. If you don't grant him a variance, you can grant him a variance with the understanding you're not substantially being detrimental to the neighbors or to the public good, which is what the code calls for. And the council, I disagree with her. There's volume of case law. The zoning text says that for the board to grant this variance, you must find all. The courts in this state have found that any of the hardship standards are enough to grant a variance. Any one. It doesn't take all six. It doesn't take all seven. I've walked through and I've submitted in here. I've covered all seven exactly why there's a hardship. And even some of them I say they're not that. So to get up here and say that, it's just wrong. And I'll tell you, members of the board, that we didn't create this issue, but I'm telling you that without some relief, both from stormwater or this government, this is a case. So we ask that you grant the appeal that without such setback relief, this lot's not buildable.
Mr. Lawless has a question.
Mr. Hargis, did your client, when he purchased this property, know that there was going to be issues where they may or may not permit the house or a potential building to be built?
There are going to be issues with stormwater, but I will submit to you that the stormwater regulations from the time they purchased it have changed quite a bit from 2016 when this, I believe, or 17 when Sierra Properties purchased property. I'm looking at the date of purchase on the GIS.
So the answer to my question was, yeah, they knew they had some issues. I'm not saying they knew exactly what, but they knew that there were going to be issues.
let me counter that. Would they ever envision that the issues they have would leave them with less than 200 square feet of buildable area? Absolutely not. I don't know how in the world you would proceed with such an issue. You know, you had stormwater regulations and items that were dealt with, that needed to be dealt with here.
Okay, I know, but I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just trying to make sure, and please don't take it the wrong way. I just want to make sure they knew they were going to have some type of discussion, shall we say, on their hands at some point when they decided to go ahead and erect something on the property.
But I would say to you that the imposition of the new buffering requirements were above and beyond what was known at the time they purchased the property. And so they do have an effect on where he can set the house on the property.
I will never disagree with you that members of legislative bodies or governmental entities are reasonable or unreasonable. And I wish I was there at that point to see Miss Murphy's look on her face when I made that particular comment. However, I just wanted to make sure that they knew there was something out there, okay? That's all I'm asking. Whether it's reasonable or not, it's really above my pay grade, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Any other questions at this point?
I have one for Mr. Hargis, because you talked, this is Mr. Pepper, you talked about the law on self-imposed hardships, and here's my understanding, that if I go buy a piece of land and I know full well ahead of time that it has unique characteristics that could amount to a hardship, for which I might have to seek a variance, the mere fact that I buy that piece of property does not mean that I have self-imposed those hardships. Is that, as I understand from your explanation, self-imposed hardship means the property owner has actually done something to create the hardship. Not that the property owner, it does not mean that the property owner has bought into potential hardships. Is that?
That's 100% accurate, yes, sir. And I'll give you the example. In this case, to have a self-imposed hardship, in this example, now this is purely hypothetical, I'll grant you that, but that would be my client would come to you seeking a front setback variance because he dug out the back half of the property, creating the topographic hardship, and causing him to come forward. Was the owner's actions create the need for the hardship? It's not, are there hardships on the property? The entire planet's not a flat plane. There are hardships on, properties. Each property is different, but did the actions of the owner create that hardship? And the answer in this case is clearly no.
Okay, and actions don't include buying the property.
No.
Fair enough.
Any other question? Mr. Lawless?
Mr. Lawless.
Oh, okay, he left his hand up. Any other questions at this point? Okay.
Good. Thank you, members. I really have nothing more to add. I just emphasize to you, if there's not a hardship anywhere, if it's not here, it's nowhere on your agenda. You'll never see it again. And clearly, my owner did not impose these hardships upon himself. With that, I'll yield down.
Okay. We'll close public hearing. Thoughts from the board? Ms. Davis.
So I remember this case from the last time we heard it, and I first want to thank and commend both Ms. Hargis and the council member for their presentations. They were both very persuasive. Based on Mr. Hargis's presentation, I'm leaning more towards the applicant because the last time we heard this, they were trying to build 2 units, and because of the uniqueness of this lot, it felt like, in a sense, they were exacerbating a hardship because they were trying to put more on the lot than maybe the lot could handle in light of the flood zone and in light of everything that's sort of unique about it. Because they sort of listened to the feedback, changed their plans, and to Mr. Hargis's earlier point that there are so many unique qualities about this lot that are difficult. It seems like if they can't build one house, then what can they build on here? And I think Mr. Newton's question earlier sort of got to that point. So I appreciate that they listened to the feedback, they amended their plans in light of the uniqueness of the lot. And I think due to the unique characteristics, a variance is warranted. And also understanding some of the issues regarding the floodplain are issues that we wouldn't take up and that stormwater would.
Okay, other thoughts? Mr. Newton?
Ms. Davis took the words out of my mouth. Very well said.
Mr. Pepper?
I will make a motion that we approve the request for the variance.
As presented and limited to a single-family home?
Correct, as presented.
Okay. I have a motion. Is there a second?
Ms.
Davis.
Mr. Chairman, this is Quan Poole from Metro Legal. I think it may be helpful. I think the record is probably pretty clear, but if maybe we could add into the motion some of the characteristics or the factors that why the variance should be granted.
I'm glad to do that. It's my motion. Thank you for reminding me to do that. The motion is based on the fact that there are hardships on this property. I think Mr. Hargis put it very correctly when he said if this lot isn't beset with hardships, it's hard to imagine one that is. It is not a self-imposed hardship, and for those reasons, I make the motion to approve the variance.
And Ms. Davis, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I had my hand up to second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Is there any other discussion on the motion? All right, we will call the question and ask for a vote, starting with Mr. Pepper.
In favor.
Mr. Lawless.
Against.
Ms. Davis.
In favor.
Ms. Carbonek, were you here to hear the hearing?
I was not. I came in halfway.
Okay, Mr. Newton?
In favor.
And I will vote in favor also, so that motion passes 4-1. And next case.
The next case, 2020-155, located at 1117 3rd Avenue South, is a variance request from the parking requirements in the MUL-A district to construct a retail building, 4 required spaces, and they're requesting 0. The council member, Colby Sledge, is in support of this variance request, and this case was identified as a case that was proper for consent, but that we were too late to perfect the notice to the public. So if there's no opposition present in case 2020-155, which I do not see any, the board may take up a motion to add it to the previously passed consent agenda.
Yeah, that was one that we had asked, that when I met with John Michael and Lisa on the, for the consent agenda, we'd all agreed that it was consent worthy, but wanted to hear from the councilman. And I think we heard just right after our self-imposed deadline, or maybe a little less self-imposed, but anyway, the deadline that we have for putting this out there for public comment and our telephonic COVID situation. And so the case that we have, no oppositions here, and the applicant's made his case through the packet, and which the council member strongly supports based on the narrowness of the lot. And so we can just actually, we can either move it to go back on consent, or we can just, the public hearing's closed, we can just discuss it and have a motion. So since there's no one here to actually present a case, so I'll just go ahead and close the public hearing and ask for any discussion and a motion. Mr. Wallace?
I make a motion, we put it back on consent so that we can just vote it through and go.
Okay, I have a motion to put this on the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Newton? All right, that motion to put it back on consent, and that's been seconded.
Seconded.
Any discussion by Mr. Newton? Any discussion? All right, then we'll call the question and ask for a vote. Mr. Lawless?
In favor.
Ms. Davis?
In favor.
Ms. Carpenter?
In favor.
Mr. Newton?
Favor.
And Mr. Pepper?
In favor.
I'll vote in favor also. That motion passes 6-0, and we will hear the next case.
The next case, 2020-156, located at 1802 8th Avenue South, is a special exception to the use and distance requirements and a variance from the sidewalk requirement in the CS district to operate a kennel. Is there anyone here in opposition? I see opposition, so the appellant will have to the podium and state your name and address. Proceed.
Chairman, I'm going to take the mask off so everybody can hear me, hopefully. My name is George Dean. I'm here on behalf of Joan Elder, who is the lessee of the property located at 1802 8th Avenue South. As was just noted, she's asking for a special exception for a kennel. We'll call it a doggy daycare for purposes of the appeal and the sidewalk variance. And just by way of a little history, some of the board members are new, but in 2018, this case came before the board, and on the special exception was approved for a 2-year time period. I think there was some concern by the board that there were neighbors in opposition at the time, and wanted to give the doggy daycare a chance to get operational and see how things worked out. The case was also previously here in 2019 on a sidewalk variance, and the sidewalk variance was again granted at that point in time through November of this year. So we just thought we'd combine both the new request on the sidewalk with the special exception request here. Should add that she has renovated the building. Some of the members who were here, in particular, Mr. Chairman, I recall that you were on the board at the time, and one of the things that she said she would do and has now done is a total renovation of the interior and soundproofing the inside part of the project in order to decrease the sound of the dogs inside, and also not to have an exercise area outside, so that the dogs are, for the most part, 98% totally enclosed in the building. There's no exercise area outside. They're almost always inside.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Dean, there was a long list of conditions, I don't know how long, but a reasonable list of conditions. Is there any objection to any of those conditions continuing?
The only two that we asked the board to take a look at is one, that the original approval was only for 2 years. We'd like to ask the board to maybe go out to 5 or 7 years.
Most of these don't have any limitation, right? Most kennels are just.
If the board is, that was my thought, but I wasn't sure how the board would approach it, so that would certainly work for us. The other thing is that.
Can you move a little bit further away from the microphone, please?
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right.
The other thing that we asked is that there was a limit on the number of dogs that could be boarded overnight of 50. There's a limit during the day of 100. She'd like to increase the number overnight to 100 as well. Those are the only two changes.
Okay.
I would mention also she's been open for about 9-10 months now. Obviously the interior renovations were fairly expensive. She's got a 5-star rating on Google. As far as, I know we have opposition here, but this is the first that we've heard of the opposition. No one was at the virtual meeting in opposition. Also, we're asking for a renewal of the sidewalk variance and do not wish to make a contribution to the sidewalk fund. And I'll talk about that mainly during my time, because I think that may be the most controversial part of this. I know that the council member has requested that she pay into the fund. I hit the special exception just real quick. The 10 specific requirements are set back 200 feet. As you recall, she's about 150 feet away from the residential area. The board granted a variance on that last time, again, based on the alteration to the interior of the building, so as to minimize any dog noise coming from the interior. I'd mentioned also that the planning commission staff recommended approval of this and noted the same thing about the interior and actually the orientation of the adjacent residential, and thought that the amount of noise would be contained as well by that. But again, if the building is soundproof, after she pulls the building permit and soundproof the building, so that hopefully that, takes care of that issue. Building temperature, heating and air conditioning, each dog has its own container that's required by the code. The code does allow dog runs, but as I mentioned, we don't have any outdoor exercise areas, because of the concern about noise. Fresh water is available all the time. Waste collection was another issue last time, and Mr. Chairman, you may recall what we agreed to do at that point, and continue to do it, is to collect waste inside, put it in the freezer, and only put it outside once a week when the trash is collected, so that it would not be out, 3 or 4 days, something like that. So it is frozen and then disposed of when it's collected by Metro. I won't go through the general requirements. Mainly, you have to comply with all the other provisions of the code. We believe that we do that, including the parking requirements, design and compatibility. The building's been there for a long period of time. This is not a new building. She just renovated the interior. Traffic impact, this is on 8th Avenue South. Virtually no traffic impact on 8th Avenue. Hazard protection, again, no real hazards here, flooding, fire, noise, some of those problems, not really applicable. And with that, let me just turn real quickly, because Ms. Elder would like to speak, and we have a neighbor who would like to address the board as well. The sidewalk variance was a contribution to the fund. The basis for the variance, and again, the board granted this back in 2019 through to 2020. One side note I make is kind of funny, the discussion about variances in the previous case. Usually variances don't get capped time-wise. They run on the land and you can't really cut them off. But we're not really too concerned about that. What we'd like to point out to the board is that there's already a sidewalk out in front of this property. The adjacent properties on either side, 1800 8th Avenue South, 1808 8th Avenue South, basically come up all the way to the sidewalk. So while it's theoretically possible to construct a sidewalk on the property where the dog daycare is located, you couldn't extend it to either side until those other buildings are actually taken down. Don't know when that'll happen. I guess it could happen next week, but it also could be 20 years from now. So putting a sidewalk on this particular property really doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense. There's one other thing, and I'm going to deep dive, and I understand Juan's on the line and John's sitting there, and I'll try and take just a minute. There's a legal doctrine, I don't know how often it comes up before the board on these sidewalk variances. When the sidewalk ordinance was adopted, I talked to a number of people at Metro about this very issue. The legal doctrine basically says, and it's a takings issue, which is somewhat like Joe was talking about in the previous case. If you are applying for a permit, and if the new construction causes some external impact on the surrounding land uses such that you need a condition like a bigger sidewalk in order to take care of that negative impact, no problem, makes perfect sense. But if it's doing the same thing as it was previously doing, and there's no such negative impact, then the U.S. Supreme Court, not just Tennessee, but the U.S. Supreme Court looked at this issue no less than 3 different times and said it's illegal to impose either a dedication, or a dedication is where you offer the land to Metro so that Metro can extend the sidewalk, dedication, or an exaction where Metro says, well, you can pay us money. The reason is it's just unconstitutional. Metro, and the big case, trying to do this in 20 seconds. The big case is from California, Nolan versus California Coastal Commission. Guy owns a single-family home. He's going to put up a bigger home. Goes to get a permit, 2 public beaches on either side. California Coastal Commission says, oh, that's a great idea. What we need, though, is an easement right across the front of your property, and we'll give you the permit. He says, I don't want to give you the easement. They turn down the permit. He goes to the U.S. Supreme Court. The Supreme Court says, there is no way you can impose that requirement. Sidewalk here is exactly the same as that easement in California Coastal Commission. Anyway, I'm glad to take any questions, but I know Mrs. Elder would like to speak, and I'd like to get her up before I run out of time.
Just want to say thank you to the board, both for your time today, as well as
Ms. Elder, just state your name and address. And
Joni Elder, 391 Sandridge Drive, Franklin, Tennessee. Thank you for your time, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to build Lane Avenue Utopia. 2 years ago, granted me a 2-year business license. Unfortunately, due to landlord issues, I've only been open 9 months. But to George Dean's comment, my clients love us. You guys have a number of letters in existence. Of the few clients I did ask to write letters of support because given this time, a lot of my folks are healthcare workers. I stayed open during COVID to help support them to my financial detriment because I feel like I wanted to serve the community. I've got lots of things I'd love to say, but one of the things I want to talk about particularly was increasing the 50 to 100 borders. As George mentioned, I put hundreds of thousands of dollars into remodeling the business, to soundproof it, to make it the best daycare it could be. 6 weeks after I opened, I hit the limit of 50 borders on Thanksgiving in a 6-week time. I had to turn away clients and lost money from it. And I know financial isn't a reason for the allowing a hardship, but the artificially imposed 50 was just a number that was kind of picked up.
And let me ask you to stop here real quick. It was, and just for the sake of and this won't take your time. If I ask you a question, it doesn't count against your time, so it's a bonus. I know you were looking at the clock. Or any of the other board members, when they ask a question, it doesn't count against your time. I remember the case, and we can talk about it with the board, especially the members that weren't part of this case 2 years ago, at a later time now. But an important part of the 50 was really only because when you came before us, you had talked about Dogtopia's soundproofing requirements and the building construction requirements that they instituted to be a part of their franchise, and that you were going to soundproof this building, and that we all agreed that because it was 50 feet too close to some residential areas that you wouldn't have an outside run. And the 50 only came because of caution to say, well, have 50 dogs and then prove to us that there isn't noise outside. And so I guess, tell me about the noise outside. Can you hear the dogs out, when the dogs are inside, and they're barking and having fun, what can you hear outside? How well does your soundproofing work? We don't have any written complaints about that, so.
Right, I have received 0 complaints. That's the first piece of data I would put forth. I actually have a neighbor who is here to support Marie, who can talk. I'd rather have a third party talk to that. But what I would tell you is you can stand in my parking lot. You don't hear the dogs. If you recall, David, as part of our previous case, I actually had a sound engineer do a data study on the building, the envelope with the soundproofing in the plan, which we did build exactly the plan. And even if I had 100 dogs barking all at one time in that building, which isn't possible, some are breathing, some aren't barking, but even if you were able to get 100 bark all at one time, it would be less noise than one, the code allows to have as a business, and 2, less noise than you have to have as normal traffic. So we have not had any issues whatsoever.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I'd like to, so the thing I wanted to address was the 50 to the 100 and noise was one. We've taken care of the noise and the smell, and there are a lot of neighbors who love having us there. The convenience and the service we're delivering is exceptional, according to them.
Okay. Now, Mr. Lawless has a question for you.
Actually, I don't have a question. I'd like to see a street view, please.
No, that's it. That's the next. That's the bicycle shop.
Oh, sorry.
It is my fault I built this one.
Let me keep going, sorry. There we go. There's the property.
Well, and go back. Yeah, there's the street view, but go back to the other one and just.
This area.
The one just for the board's sake. Then I go back to the one where you can actually see the buildings. You can see the red dot on the building. That's where the Dogtopia is, and it's the apartment building that's just behind that. That was, you know, that's what infringed. And you know, if that apartment building had been closer to its other street by 50 feet, then we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have been here 2 years ago, and we wouldn't be here now. But so that's the piece of the puzzle that is that caused the board 2 years ago to list the restrictions and to allow Ms. Elder the opportunity to kind of prove her point that that it's not going to infringe on the neighbors. Mr. Lawless.
And what was the reason for the sidewalk portion of this not wanting to pay into the fund?
We can ask. I think that's probably a question for Mr. Dean, and I'll let him address that. There are really two separate issues that we need to decide. One's a special exception to allow the kennel, and then the other is the sidewalk issue. And the only kind of case I'm making is, and if I'm not really making a case, I'm just trying to catch you guys up that weren't on the board 2 years ago with the logic of the board then. And again, it's a new board, and it's up to this board to decide the special exception, but just wanted you to know why we're hearing it again after 2 years and what the issues were that we addressed. It was probably the longest case that I can remember this board settling, because we had asked Ms. Elder to come back several times with new information and more detailed information and have different types of meetings, all of which she did very thoroughly. But it was a decision that took quite a lot of effort and negotiation, and that's why it's taken a little bit of time to pass that along to you all now. Did you want Mr. Dean to address the sidewalk issue?
I would like that, because I drive by this every single day, because I go into the customs house up 8th Avenue. So I was just trying to understand that part of it, George.
Yeah, a couple points, Mr. Wallace. First, already a sidewalk there. Nothing that we're going to do is going to increase the use of that sidewalk. So there's no negative impact of the permit that would be issued here that's going to increase that use. So from a constitutional standpoint, there's a problem from Metro's vantage point. Secondly, though, there's on both sides of the property, you can see it on the screen that's up now, the one to the north, immediately adjacent to Ms. Elder's lease property. You can see it comes virtually out to the sidewalk. And then the one to the south, you can see the large building that comes out virtually on top of the sidewalk. The point is basically that if she were to change doing the sidewalk, nothing's going to happen for years probably. So those two buildings get taken down. And finally, again, this is my impression is the board hasn't heard much about this, but what's called the unconstitutional conditions doctrine goes to the planning commission quite a bit. If there's no impact of the land use that would change the use of that sidewalk, then it's not constitutional to ask the property owner to pay. If the property owner is causing additional use, sure, then the property owner should be required to pay. But absent that kind of external negative impact on the sidewalk itself, it's not an appropriate thing to do. Let me also mention that the Planning Commission, at the original hearing on this back in 2019, unqualifiedly said there's no reason to do anything with the sidewalk. Now, they changed their mind this time around, but it's not clear why. The first time when I looked at it, they said nothing's changed out there, but the Planning Commission staff felt that there was absolutely no reason for us to do anything to the sidewalk. There's an existing sidewalk. It serves what is needed right now. And essentially and again, at the time of the adoption of the sidewalk ordinance, I discussed this with many people. When you have a small improvement to a piece of property that doesn't implicate the use of the sidewalks, it's not constitutional to require a payment. It's basically extortion. And in fact, in that case I talked about, the Nolan versus California Coastal Commission, that's exactly what the court said. And as recently as 2015, the most recent of these cases, Coons versus St. James Water Parkway, the court said exactly the same thing about a $50,000 payment that was required by Florida. The court struck it down. It said it's got nothing to do with what he's doing with his land. You can't require him to pay $50,000 when it has no relationship to the use to which he's putting the property. Anyway, those are the reasons.
Mr. Wallace?
Now, I was just going to make an observation. There's a new Supreme Court, but I don't object to this particular one. So when we close the hearing, I've got a motion for an approval, just so everyone knows.
Okay, well, we have, Ms. Elder's got a little bit of time, and then we have opposition to hear from, and then in some rebuttal. So we'll call on you when it's time. I'm smiling behind my mask. All right, so.
I guess the last point I wanted to make is that I did, put together a neighborhood meeting, send out notifications. I only heard from 2 people, so a very different situation than the last time we had. I did talk with both of those folks. One was a real estate agent who was just wanting to know what's going on in the neighborhood, and actually wants my brochures to put in her flyers, because she thinks it's great service. And the other is Marie McIntyre, and she's here in support, and I'd like to cede the rest of my time.
Okay. If you would, ma'am, state your name and address and tell us what you came to say.
Certainly. My name is Marie McIntyre. I live at 702 Wedgwood Park. And I want to thank you for granting the exceptions 2 years ago and a year ago, because Dogtopia has been a great neighbor. I attest that Joni's efforts establishing Dogtopia have gone beyond what our homeowners board asked for. My husband and I walk between Dogtopia and those apartments 3 times a day, and we have never heard dogs barking or smelled dog waste. Dogtopia's dogs don't torment the neighbors. While we don't take advantage of her services, we believe they are critical, especially for the frontline workers during this pandemic, and I hope you allow her to continue to operate her business.
Yeah, and where is Wedgwood Park? Can you see it? Well,
It is just south of the apartments that have been labeled.
Okay.
On the screen.
So you walk the alley.
I walk the alley between the apartments, and our condo space is Wedgwood.
Okay.
So
Were you part of the group that was concerned?
I am part of that homeowners association.
That was concerned
Yes.
last time? And I think that the issues were the alley and the dogs down the alley, and that said you haven't noticed anything over the 2 years that caused you any concern at this point?
Not
Okay.
at all.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anything else from?
That's all we have.
All right, so we will hear from the opposition, and then you'll have a little bit of time. All right, ma'am, if you would come and state your name and address and tell us your thoughts on why you're opposed to this.
Yes, my name is Linda Hartman. I live at 702 Wedgwood Park. I represent the homeowners association, and out of 198 residents, I represent 185 of them. We're not opposed to, we don't think it's necessary to build a new sidewalk. I mean, that's reinventing the wheel. What we are opposed to is the fact that she's unwilling to pay into the sidewalk fund, which on principle alone, we don't feel like that there should ever be an exception for this for any home. We're trying to make Nashville more walkable, and those monies from that fund can go to repair sidewalks, build other sidewalks that are needed.
And so, ma'am, is your only concern today is the sidewalk, not the fact that it's the Dogtopia?
Well, when I got this thing, it says that the only thing on this for this meeting was the kennel without building sidewalks or paying into the sidewalk fund.
Right, that's right. It's to allow the kennel to continue and then to have the sidewalk.
That's not, as far as understood it. That wasn't the thing. But we are opposed to her upping the number of overnight. She knew that was one of the requirements when she accepted the exception, and wanting to change it now, it's too late.
Well, I don't know that I agree with that because, and I'll ask you, because what I really want to know specifically is, you have, because I was on the panel and I heard your concerns and I heard her issues, and I just stated earlier that it's my perception, and we can go back and look at the tape, but I'm pretty certain I'm right that the 50 was kind of arbitrarily picked by Chairman Ewing at the time because we were concerned too about having too many, and if the noise was a problem. So have you heard noise? Is the noise a problem?
Well, she has not fulfilled all the requirements. One of them was that she would build an enclosure around the dumpster, which has not been done. She's only done what she's been forced to do. She has not been as much of a problem as we had anticipated, but we do not agree that she should be able to keep upping the limits and everything like that. We want the restrictions that were put on her to begin with to stay.
Mr. Lawless, did you have a question?
I did. Ma'am, have you heard any dogs barking in the evening since you live over near there?
Not from where I am, but we did not poll the immediate neighbors because it was our understanding that this meeting was about the sidewalk.
Okay, well, all right, exclude the sidewalk for our purposes, and you and I may be on the exact same page as it relates to the sidewalks, but I'm more interested in the number of dogs, whether you can hear them outside, whether or not you've had any of your neighbors or folks around you complain about the noise and what have you, because I can bifurcate in my mind, at least between sidewalks and the actual commercial activity that this lady is undertaking. And other than putting a fence around a dumpster or where they put waste or anything, have you been around it to where there's an obnoxious smell, especially at this time of year?
No, that's my whole point.
I understand.
We did not understand that this was about renewing her appeal or whatever the verbiage is. We were under the understanding that this was just about the sidewalk. I have not personally smelled it, but by the same token, I have not polled the immediate neighbor, part of our condominium, those townhouses that are so close to her. I haven't polled them because this was supposed to be about sidewalks.
Now, are you in the apartments that are just directly behind her? So you're past the 200 feet mark.
Not all of our HOA is.
Okay, there's just a corner of yours that was.
There are some townhouses that are less than 200 feet away.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Carpenter, did you have a question?
No, but my apologies. I'll have to leave again, but if a decision isn't made today, I'd be happy to watch it and vote next time.
Okay.
We would have a rebuttal and we would do some other due diligence on this. In my opinion, this letter is not very clear in stating that we were addressing the renewal of her appeal.
Okay.
And I'd like you to postpone it until we have that opportunity. And as far as her calling and wanting to have her Zoom meeting, there's nothing for us to discuss as far as we're concerned.
But all right, okay.
For the main simple reason that we thought this was about sidewalks. We are unilaterally opposed opposed to her not paying into it. Now, the other stuff, we have not addressed, we've not discussed, because I don't think that the appealing notice was very clear. It says this is not a zoning change request. I'm not an attorney. I got this letter, and for a layperson, I don't think it's incredibly clear.
Right, but you all, I mean, and I'm not to put you, not to be argumentative, and we can talk about it as a board and decide what the board wants to do. But this was a very active neighborhood group 2 years ago, and it certainly was well aware that it was a 2-year limit, and the letter says it's to operate a kennel without building sidewalks, and so that, I mean, I'm sorry that you and your group didn't feel like you, that the letter was clear, but like I said, it was.
We don't want her to build a sidewalk.
Right.
That's the issue. We don't, she doesn't need to build a new sidewalk. I mean, that's crazy.
Right.
But paying into the fund, yes,
okay.
That's what we want.
Right, okay, and certainly,
Yes, but the other part about, which to me is just coming up, about wanting to have more than 50 dogs at night, wanting to make the appeal or the exception for 5 or 7 more years. That wasn't my understanding that that's what this was about.
Okay.
It says, the last sentence says sidewalks and fund, and then it says this is not a zoning appeal.
Right, okay.
I request that you postpone.
Mr. Chairman, may I, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Wallace, did you have a question?
I didn't. This was more directed to Ms. Butler. Ms. Butler, would you please read the notice that was sent out so that we can at least move on beyond this if we're going to?
I got it.
Okay.
And
I'm going to read the letter that the person in opposition just handed to me, because I don't have a copy of the actual letter that was mailed. It says,
Sorry to put you on the spot, by the way.
Can you hear me now? It says, this is to inform you that Joni Elder filed an appeal for the property at the above referenced location. The appellant requested a special exception and variances from distance and sidewalk requirements. Should this request be approved, it would allow the applicant to operate a kennel without building sidewalks or paying into the sidewalk fund. This is not a zone change request. And then it goes on to talk about, you're hereby notified by the Board of Zoning Appeals, we'll conduct public hearings. But I believe the paragraph was, at the beginning, was the intent of the notice. Would you like me to continue reading?
No, ma'am. You've satisfied me that notice was given. Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
it says, allow the applicant to operate a kennel without building sidewalk.
Okay.
And that's why I requested we delay the.
All right, I will take.
We've had an opportunity to get with the homeowners that are closest to this building.
We will take that up with the board. And did you have anything else to add? All right, any other?
We don't want there to go to 100 dogs at night.
Right, okay.
I mean, good Lord.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, we'll hear back from the applicant. And Mr. Dean, I just have a question on the dogs. Could you tell the rest of the board how are limits to the number of boarded dogs established? And because it really does, I do remember the conversation, and because there was some healthy skepticism on the soundproofing, and whether it was going to work, that it was picked, and I can remember it just saying, well, hey, can you live with 50 to try it and see, and I remember us very clearly saying you will do 2 years, and it's to really give your neighbors an opportunity to say, is this a nuisance or not? And so can you tell me about the 50 dogs versus 100 dogs?
I may defer to Joni.
Well, I was just thinking about, like, in terms of, like, just the code regulation. I mean, there's not a.
I don't think there's a provision in the code. I think that she makes a decision based on the kinds of operations that Dogtopia generally uses.
Yes, so this is Joni again. So we have at Dogtopia standards around how much play space you have to have per dog that generates the numbers of maximum capacity. Dogtopia's number would actually, in my building, the size of the rooms I have 3 playrooms, 1 for small dogs and 2 for big dogs, would actually generate a number of 110. I back that down to 100 in terms of the number that we all set for the daycare dogs. Those are still the same numbers that would generate for boarding in most instances. I actually went back to Dogtopia to find out if any other municipality had ever only allowed fewer boardings than the daycare, and the only ones there were where there were codes around how many dogs could be in a building. Never had it in, at least in our 140 locations being built, come out where a limit had been set externally because of noise.
Okay. Mr. Pepper?
Yes, I have a question for Mr. Dean. Are you able to answer, Mr. Dean? Are you at whatever place you need to be to answer?
Yes, sir. I'm right here.
Okay, and probably partly because of my hearing and the acoustics, I did not hear some of what you said last time. So if you answered this, I apologize. And so I understand your argument with respect to why your client should not have to contribute to the in lieu of fund is because essentially that law is unconstitutional.
Essentially, although again, it's a more common sense kind of thing. If the requirement, if the permit does not require something that will have an adverse impact on the sidewalk, then to require an enhancement of the sidewalk or a contribution doesn't make much sense. It's just kind of common sense. And, someone said something about the court's getting more conservative. That's certainly true. And actually, that works in favor of the property owner.
Okay, and I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. But you're basically saying the law is, it's just because there's no nexus, it's not constitutional. So here's what my question is. I don't think this sidewalk issue has come to us in an item A appeal. I mean, isn't this a question of law really for the zoning administrator? I want to make sure we're doing this procedurally correct because I'm not, in these sidewalk cases before, I don't think we've ever had, essentially a constitutional challenge. So I'm just trying to get my arms around what is our standard of review here. That's what I'm struggling with. So.
It's my understanding that John looked at it, he's shaking his head, yes.
So, and then maybe I should have directed that to our legal counsel, but I'm just trying to figure out what is, I want to make sure I understand what our standard is and what we need to be doing here in light of your argument, Mr. Dean.
And I'll intercede really quickly there. John Michael, zoning administrator, Metro Codes Department. Mr. Pepper, the answer to your most direct question is the legal standard is that for a variance. That's what was filed by the appellant. We're seeking a variance from the sidewalk requirements that were triggered.
Okay, Mr. Michael, can you speak? I'm getting some kind of reverberation. I'm not hearing very well. I don't know if anybody else is either, but it's.
I choose to think it's my deep resonant voice, Mr. Pepper, and nothing more. Thank you for the implied compliment. I think that the standard is strictly that of variance. That's what was filed by the appellant. The staff correctly determined that the sidewalk was triggered for the project originally when it was brought to the board 2 years ago, and that is still in play because of the, temporary nature of the approval that was given in the hearing a couple of years ago. Now, to the question of is this or should this be an item A, on rare occasions we'll have people file variances from some condition that is required under the zoning code and simultaneously challenge whether or not that should be a requirement of the zoning code, or whether it's legally applied or correctly applied apply legal standard. That's where they would bring a variance and kind of as an alternative argument, an item A argument, such the board could basically move the item, or rather, if they found that no, this shouldn't be charged at all in their item A review, it moves the variance analysis that you could go through. And I know this is some pretty boring third-year law school kind of stuff to talk about, but here that's not the case. I'm just laying that out to show a differentiation of how it could have advanced. Instead, it's just a variance case, and if at a later date, this appellant or some other appellant with a similar situation chose to file an item A challenge as to whether or not that sidewalk trigger is in fact legal to be brought, that would be a mechanism by which they could do so. I think that in most instances, we see people pursue variances, number one, because it's just kind of a norm and that's what folks know to do. But even in many instances where people think they might have a legal challenge they want to file, the reality is at the end of the day, they just want to get their businesses up and running, or their business built, or their home built, and so they choose not to take on what could be a more extended, chronologically speaking, legal fight, and instead just pursue the relief that will get their business up and running, or in this case, keep it up and running. Apologies for the long response, but I invite any other questions you or other board members may have.
Thank you.
Mr. Wallace?
This is more of a clarification to Mr. Dean. You're not actually raising the constitutional issue at this point, or are you bifurcating your argument so that we can deal with the kennel and then maybe deal with the sidewalk?
Yeah, because they're really two separate applications. There's the kennel application, and then the sidewalk is a separate kind of thing.
I mean, it would be very much appreciated, at least by one of your BZA members.
Make that two.
Yeah, no, I think that those are two separate questions. There's the special exception, and then there's the variance for the sidewalk, and I would propose that we take those up separately when it comes time to deliberate.
I was confusing about that.
I think the chairman had a substantially brilliant idea just then, don't you, Mr. Pepper?
I think so, yes.
All right, did you all have anything else to add?
He has many brilliant ideas, actually.
Were there any questions?
I don't think there's much rebuttal that we need, right?
Okay. Was there any other questions for the applicant? All right, we'll close the public hearing and have a discussion. And, you know, one of the things that struck, Mr. Wallace, did you have, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to make a suggestion that we bifurcate this application and deal with it in two separate distinct matters, at least so that we can move forward.
Absolutely. Let's take the special exception first, which allows the kennel. And the applicant has asked that we do two things: to remove the 2-year time provision, and then deal with the number of dogs. Otherwise, leave all of the conditions the same. And, you know, the 2 years was, if you were on the case then, you remembered that there was probably a lot more letters of opposition at the time than we have letters of recommendation today. And a lot of neighbors came, and it was heard over at least 2 or 3 meetings with changes to the plan, with meeting, discussing, and this is the list that was developed with the help of the neighbors, input on the neighbors. And most kennels, we've had half a dozen or so kennel cases since I've been on this board, and some we've approved and some we've denied. And this is by far has the most conditions for any of the kennels that we approved, and that was primarily because of, at the time it was discussed and I think proven through testimony and evidence of realtors coming in and talking about the difficulty it is for an urban setting to find a kennel in an urban setting that has, you know, truly 200 feet from the residence. And because of that extra 50 feet, that long list of conditions happened. So I really have no issue with the kennel continuing. I don't think that we heard you know, strong, I think we heard some questioning on the type of notice, but I do think it was properly noticed. And based on the people that came out before who protested and really raised some legitimate concerns that turned into the recommendations, the lack of those en masse today, I think, is something that is noteworthy. And I personally don't have an issue with the dogs, given the testimony of the neighbors and the opposition, frankly, in terms of not hearing noise and the level of soundproofing that the applicant has done. So I'm fine with the special exception without limitation of time and increasing the dogs. Mr. Wallace?
Based yes, I did. Based upon the uncontroverted evidence that there has been, or at least over the last 2 years, no sound issues from it, so they have complied with all the conditions that were put on there before, that the only issue that came up was that there is nothing around apparently a waste dumpster or anything like that. And based upon, as I understand it, we are only dealing with letting them go forward at this point as kennel. I'm going to make a motion that we do so and then address separately the sidewalk issue.
I will second that motion.
And so does that motion to allow 100 dogs and the kennel with 100 dogs?
Yes, it is.
Only change to remove the time limitation and to allow 100 dogs is the two changes to the original conditions?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And Ross, that was your second?
Correct, yes.
Okay. I have a motion, I have a second, and any discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, we'll call the question and ask for a vote. Mr. Lawless?
In favor.
Mr. Pepper?
In favor.
Mr. Newton?
In favor.
Ms. Davis?
In favor.
And although it's not needed, I will vote in favor also. That motion passes 5-0. Now I'll take up the question for the sidewalk. Mr. Lawless?
Well, I was just going to make a point of personal privilege. If the members will recall, I was one of the most advocating against the last dog kennel that came up. I just wanted everybody to know that I'm not anti-dog, just for a change.
Well, all right, properly noted. I won't tell you what my two cats will think about my vote today, but yeah, whatever.
Understood.
So anyway, yeah, so onto the sidewalk. Thoughts on the sidewalk? There were a couple of questions.
How much?
Ms. Davis?
What, I'm sorry, I apologize. I didn't mean to talk over you.
Mr. Pepper?
So I think the applicant should have to contribute to the in lieu of fund. I understand the argument Mr. Dean's making, but I mean, this is coming to us as I see it as a variance request, and you know, that law was approved unanimously by the Metro Council that you either build or contribute, and there's sure been a lot of people before this board over the years that, you know, have not wanted to, and it's been a hard, and it's, you know, cost people money. I view it as just a tax that if it falls on people, and so I think that there's no reason that they shouldn't contribute to the in lieu of fund. I don't think that prevents, as I understand it, Mr. Dean from continuing to advance his argument elsewhere that essentially that part of the law is unconstitutional.
All right, Mr. Lawless?
There we go. I'm going to second the motion.
Was that a motion, Mr. Pepper?
It will be now. I meant to conclude, I probably meant to conclude with a motion, so,
I read your mind. That's scary.
The motion would be that the applicant, has to contribute to the in lieu of fund.
Okay, and so I think that would be disapproving the variance, and so they could either build a sidewalk or pay. Is that
correct? Yes.
Planning's recommendation to disapprove. Okay, and
And my second stands.
Okay, is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, we'll call the question and start with Mr. Pepper.
In favor.
Mr. Lawless.
In favor.
Ms. Davis.
In favor.
Mr. Newton.
Favor.
I'll vote in favor also. That motion passes. And so that case is concluded, and best of luck. And the very last case, Mr. Pepper.
Case 2021.
Ms. Pepper, did you have a question or comment?
No, that's just, I left my hand up accidentally. I'm taking it off.
Okay.
I've become like Mr. Lawless in that regard.
Case 2020-157, located at 505B Wedgewood Avenue, is an item A appeal challenging the zoning administrator's denial of short-term rental permit. The appellant operated after the issued short-term rental permit expired in the CF district. Mr. McBroom is here on behalf of Code to make the presentation. And the applicant is here? Yes. So nobody is here in opposition. Mr. McBroom?
Was there an issue on notice, or are we good on? Huh?
There was one question raised, but
okay.
I think it's good to put that.
Okay. All right, okay, Mr. McBroom.
Good afternoon, board. This is advertising and operating short-term rental with an expired permit. I must admit that the operation is purely speculative, as that host did not identify the property in terms of any advertisements, nor was I able to find any on an independent search. Therefore, there is no record of documented stays or when advertisements were posted or removed. However, on December the 11th of 2018, a Type 3 non-owner occupied permit was issued. On December 11th of 2019, the permit expired. May 19th, 2020, renewal documentation was received approximately 4 months and 1 week after the 30-day grace period had expired. During the following week, the renewal information was reviewed by the zoning examiner, Robert Osborne, and chief zoning examiner, Edmund Lamb, and found to have been submitted too late to qualify for renewal. June 2nd, 2020, the BZA appeal was filed, and a cancellation notice letter was sent after the appeal had already been filed. Host compliance did not identify the website advertisement nor deny an independent search. Therefore, there is no record available for documented stays and when any ads were removed. There were no documented complaints. No other action was taken.
157. This is 158 up here. That's okay. Sorry. So you don't have no record of them renting after they got notice that.
I had no rental record whatsoever.
Okay. Okay. Any questions for Mr. McBroom? All right. If the applicant would come up and state your name and address and tell us why you're here.
I give my personal address. I'm new to this. I don't do it all. Okay, I can't. Amber Stormberg, and I'm 109 Poplar Street in Franklin, Tennessee. And I really don't have any excuse other than I had asked a gentleman that's helping me run it to renew it. You know what assumes. I thought he did it. As soon as it came to my knowledge that, he hadn't, is when we submitted for it. I did have 2 stays in February after it expired, but as soon as I found out, number one, we had everybody canceled due to COVID, so that helped me with the space, obviously, because I didn't have anybody in there. And then I removed it. As soon as I found out that it wasn't available or it wasn't valid, I took it offline. My unit offline. So I haven't advertised it for rent or anything like that since I've known, and then I have complied with all the zoning, requirements for the appeal as soon as I found out.
Okay.
That's it.
Any questions for the applicant?
It was definitely not intentional, for sure.
And so this is an investment property that is allowed to have that type of, so you don't live in the home, but.
No. It's
Okay.
commercially zoned, and all the units in the entire, 12 units in the entire complex are all short-term.
All right. All right. Anything else to add?
No, pretty simple.
Okay. We will close the public hearing unless there are any questions from the board. All right, we'll close the public hearing. Board, any thoughts?
This is Mr. Newton. Sorry, I had my hand raised, but the only question I had was, I thought I saw somewhere in documentation that the short-term rental was not allowed in this HOA. Is that correct?
Yeah, you know, I don't know, but if that is something that when the applicant applies for a permit, that's something that they have to prove at that point. So
okay.
It sounds like if all of the units are short-term rental, that may not be a case here, but and I don't know what the situation is on. Yeah, I really don't know, but I know that the code staff will look at all of those criteria. You know, all we're doing today is allowing her to apply sooner than 12 months.
And this is not her.
Thanks.
Well, I guess, you know, one of the things on these things, especially in cases where there's just no documented bad behavior, meaning that the applicant, once the applicant was aware that they had an expired permit, that they continued to rent, the board's been pretty good about just saying, you know, you can apply for a permit fairly quickly. And so I think this falls into that case based on what we heard from Mr. McBroom and the applicant herself. So unless there's any other discussion, I'll move that the zoning administrator did not err, that the applicant rented based on her testimony after the permit expired, but based on her behavior, then the applicant would be able to apply for a permit starting on Monday, and certainly wouldn't be able to advertise or rent until a permit was in hand.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second by Mr. Pepper. Any other discussion? All right, take a vote.
Call the question.
Starting with, I'm sorry?
I call the question.
Tom? All right, we'll take a vote. Ms. Davis?
In favor.
Mr. Newton?
In favor.
Mr. Pepper?
In favor.
Mr. Lawless?
In favor.
I'll vote in favor also. That motion passes. You can apply for a permit on Monday. Don't rent or advertise until you get a permit. And with that, we are adjourned.
Everybody stay safe.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.